If I kill that bird. Barbara, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Oh, well, good evening, and good evening. This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. We are live here at the biggest and the baddest comedy shop in all of Long Island, Governors in Levittown, in the heart of Levittown, because it's part of their heart. Tonight we are joined by some distant guests and some local favorites, but before we get to all of that, we must read some sponsors. Just as a reminder, today we are live on YouTube, live on the Facebook, and if you are watching and listening, tell a buddy, tell a friend, subscribe, listen, follow, whatever you got to do. Steven, take it away with Rosie's Draft Solutions.
Rosie's Draft Solutions is a Long Island family-owned business that provides professional draft beer system services, line cleanings and maintenance, craft beer line system installs, event dispensing solutions, and more. They are passionate about craft beer and making sure it has the same quality as when it left the brewery, and is only done by making sure the draft system lines are perfectly clean.
Tight.
Rosie's services bars, restaurants, halls, events, and all other beverage establishments, including home kegerator installs across Long Island and Westchester. You can find them at rosiesdraftsolutions@gmail.com or call them at 631-219-2075, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mention the Wort, get a little discount, and they'll give
high fives, high ones.
They'll give you high ones.
I like the high ones.
They gave me a high 3 recently, and I was
that's
fine
nice.
with that.
Is that like the Boy Scout motto?
Yes.
They were like, boom.
Yeah, they're like, hey, boom, there you go.
Like it.
And I got a badge.
Okay. It's your clean tap badge.
Your tap badge.
Like they have on Untapped.
I like that.
Well, they probably did. So go over to Rosie's Draft Solutions and give them a call. And when you talk to them, tell Nick that the Wort sent you. Receive 10% off your order or your cleaning. Rosie's Draft Solutions. Tonight we're also sponsored by Brewbag for your beer pong cornhole. I got to tell you, I played the shit out of Brewbag over the summer. We had it out a lot at family gatherings.
I have like Brewbag elbow right now.
Do you?
Just too many throws.
Way
too many throws. That's what happens when you're drunk and you just can't fucking hit the holes.
Well, the thing about the Brewbag is it doesn't have as heavy bags as you would get in a standard cornhole, but it also is 6 holes.
It's 6
and
holes
that's
instead of one.
Part of the thing is you'd be throwing a lot of bags. So go to brewbag.com or go to our Instagram, and in the link tree you will find a page specifically designed for us, The Wort. And if you don't get your 10% off right there, just go ahead and type in the promo code The Wort and receive 10% off your order. Go to brewbag.com. Tonight we're also sponsored by our buddies, our pals over at VintageBeerShirtClub.com. VintageBeerShirtClub.com for your vintage beer shirt today. Go to VintageBeerShirtClub.com for your monthly subscription to old school beer logo T-shirts. Type in promo code The Wort and receive 10% your monthly subscription. Tonight we're also sponsored by Beer Maker.
Beer Maker?
Well, we have a story about the Beer Maker tonight, and we'll get to that in a moment. But we still have brewed a bunch of beer in these last few months. A Kolsch, a Marzen, which turned out okay. It was all right. It was drinkable. But go to Beer Maker for your countertop beer creation, all-grain brewing system. You can throw in some hops. You can actually DIY, and that's part of our story today. We were going to DIY a brew and have it today. Instead, we're drinking some probably better beer in the end, not because of the ingredients, but because of the design of the machine.
And the rushing.
The rush
of trying to
and your Wi-Fi, and then pretty much anything else you can think of. Technology. It was a technical difficulty, as we call it, in the business. So go to Beer Maker or go to our link tree and receive 10% off your order, or type into the promo code the Wort.
The Wort.
And receive 10% off your maker kit, off your supplies, off of your machine itself, beermaker.com. Also sponsored finally by Brewers Hardware. For your large capacity or small business needs, go to Brewers Hardware. Try clamps for days, Stephen. Lots of tri-clamps.
I'm hoping tri-clamp for president again.
For president again, yes. We're pushing that for 2024. It's going to be beautiful. Someone did that. Was that Brew York or was that the Wort Wrangler?
Wort Wrangler.
Wort Wrangler did tri-clamp for president. Yeah. I love it. So go over to Brewers Hardware. They have been really great to us over the last few years. And being a sponsor on this show, go to brewershardware.com and get your supplies today. And if you want to use our promo code, use the promo code. It's called The Wort. No spaces, all caps, the Wort. We give quick shout-outs. We're going to give a quick shout-out to Mark over at Hopscotch, our buddy over there. Anything else you want to shout out before we continue on? I covered everybody, right?
Well, Pete's where today again?
So
pickleball?
So Pete's cousin got picked for the United States Junior Pickleball Association.
There you go.
Pete is there, not playing. I thought he was playing.
Is he officiating again?
He's officiating.
God damn it.
You got it.
This man's
so,
everywhere.
listen, he's going to be on the upper chair, which is really just a bar stool.
Yep.
Not like real tennis where you have to walk up a thing.
With a beer in his hand.
With a beer in his hand, which is smart. And, he's going to be officiating some of the preliminary semifinals, I think, and the preliminary rounds for pickleball. So it's going to be interesting. I didn't know Pete knew the rules.
Other rules?
No, the rules. I mean, it's very much like table tennis and tennis combined in a way.
With a little bit of ping pong in it, I guess.
Well, that's what I'm saying, table tennis.
Oh, yeah. See, that's
I know.
layman's terms, you know.
Well, when you look at it in the Olympics, it's not actually ping pong. It's table tennis.
No, because that's the slang word for table tennis.
I don't think they like that. They don't like to.
You
their
say
sport
ping pong,
being called
it's like,
ping pong.
It's like, calling somebody a bad word.
Yeah, that's not nice. You don't want to be that.
No.
You're marked as that. 100%. You don't want that.
Scumbags.
All right, so in the studio and on the phones today, which is really not the phones, we have them beaming via satellite. Our friends down in North Carolina, here they are. We have Brent from Riverbend Malt House in Asheville, North Carolina. The Kakalackas. I love the Kakalackas. Emily Brent, you are the co-founder of Riverbend Malt House. Emily over at Rad Craft, she's also co-founding this, and we're going to hear a lot about a lot of things down in North Carolina, let me just tell you. And I was down there this summer, so I'm very interested in we talked about this a little bit, like different things. We'll get to that in a minute. And I got Vincent, also from North Carolina. He's from a brewery called DSSOLVR. He is on the line as well. He is head brewer and co-founder of DSSOLVR Brewing. And listen, so when it comes down to it, I'm more interested, Vincent, in let's say labels and beer color and stuff like that. So I got to say, out of all the 3 Instagrams that we were trolling through over the last few months, I watched yours more intent than most.
So my business partner does all of our graphic design, social media. He, up until very recently, had it all laid out in a gridded format, so it would come out 3 at a time, and it was one continuous picture, and he has since
that's cool.
Killed that.
That is cool.
In favor of doing more weird long-form commercial-style ad things that are...
You need that nowadays. You got to kind of reinvent yourself every single time you're doing stuff nowadays. Otherwise, it's the same old, right? And then you got to stand out. That's what it comes down to.
The fall storyline was fantastic.
Let's get to that in a little bit. But thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. We've been trying to get this going, and I'll first start off by congratulating Brent, you 10 years of Riverbend Malt House and doing things that I don't think anyone thought were possible. And when we started reading the list of people who you supply, we were both going, wow. Now that's an account anyone would love if they were supplying malt. So let's start off with you, sir, because there's a lot to talk about. First, let's inform our uninformed audience about the ingredient of malt and tell us, a little bit about that background you may have had and how you came to get to this point.
Yeah. So we say malt is the soul of beer. You can have beer without hops. You can't have beer without malt. And so 3 main steps: steeping, germinating, and kilning, all designed to manage the enzymatic digestion of the cell walls inside of each kernel as they're converted into a starch or simple sugar. we're basically setting the table for the brewer or distiller to easily extract those sugars that then the yeast then consume, turn to alcohol and CO2.
Yeah.
What makes us sort of stand out is most malt is produced in very large quantities in the Western US, Western Canada, Western Europe, and it's truly a global commodity. And so when we were one of the founders of the craft malt movement 10 and some odd years ago, it was all about localizing small batch artisan crafted products that were, just fresher, had a sense of place. And here we stand. We started in 2,000 square feet doing 1-ton batches. Along the way, we scaled to a 10,000 square foot facility and 4-ton batches. Now we're in a 70,000 square foot building with 4 10-ton machines plus floor malt. And I wouldn't recommend that anyone go from 10,000 to 70,000 square feet. That's what we did. And but along the way, we forged great relationships with a broad network of farmers throughout the Southeast and researchers out of NC State, Virginia Tech, UK. And it's just been absolutely crazy to help create what hopefully becomes a very powerful chapter in craft beer, which is the advent of locally sourced, origin specified malts.
I want to ask a few, just because I watched the videos that you guys have out on YouTube and all that, and of course the link that Emily sent us with the movie itself. So let's go back first where this originated for you guys to be on today, and that is talk about that 10-year journey into then having to celebrate that and releasing this film. What went into all that?
Yeah. So, my hair was a lot browner and a lot dark and a lot thicker back then. But we started off with really my co-founder and I, Brian Simpson. Really, we're sustainability nerds. We did biodiesel together. We were environmental consultants, and we had this vision of Asheville's got all these breweries. Great, that's cool. Where are they getting their ingredients from? Oh, the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Can we change that? Is that possible? And what does that look like? And so it started with some pretty basic questions, interfacing with the ag extension folks in our area. They helped us point us to the current state of the research, which really was not doing anything for malting barley at that point. And then farmers that were enterprising and looking for new markets.
Yeah.
And we found the Canadian Malting Barley Technical Center in Winnipeg, Canada, that help us actually make malt professionally. But there really wasn't much of a roadmap, to be honest. It took a lot of just sweat equity in there to get the machines running and the quality up.
Well, as being a trailblazer, I'm sure you found a tremendous amount of difficulty where there was no formula or, plan to go off of. So, who do you talk to? Like, I want to do some malting. They're like, what?
Yeah, I mean, there was a handful of people at Canadian Malting Barley Technical Center, UC Davis. There were a couple of private consultants. There was one giant textbook by a professor over in the UK that was literally like a phone book thick and never answered any question very clearly, but gave you boatloads of data about all the different ways it had been studied. But
he basically gave you more information to ask more questions.
It did. It never just said, "Hey, would you like to make Munich malt? Do this," And it was so it would say, "Here's a graph, and here are the colors, and this amount of protein helps," and things like that. But it was a lot of breadcrumb trails, and there was not much in the way of equipment. I mean, our first malt rate was built by a local artisan that we handed him a pencil sketch from that textbook. We're like, "Can you make us one of these?" And,
wait, you didn't get the Brewers for Dummies book? Isn't that one out? Malting?
Yeah.
Malting for
There was
Dummies.
not a malting for dummies.
malting.
God bless if there was. It would have been great.
would've
Maybe
been
I'll write
helpful.
that as
Yeah,
I
right.
go
Made it
into
easy.
retirement in the years ahead.
My first book.
But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, it was we were working with varieties that were not recognized by the American Malting Barley Association. We're working with equipment that was largely home built, and it was it was wild. Yeah, we made a ton of mistakes, and our early batches of malt were dark in color, low in extract, but high in flavor. And thankfully, we had some folks that were willing to, throw the spaghetti up against the wall with us and give it a shot. And
what were some of those early contracts that you had, like early on? Do you remember some of the breweries that were using that?
Well, first, there were no contracts. Nobody. Everybody.
Who wants to buy it? Come get it.
Here's 5 bags that I sewed up today. Would you like to brew a pale ale? And yeah, but no, early adopters around here. This was pre-Asheville blowing up. So I mean, this was still like Pisgah and Highland and Green Man were the order of the day, and it was several years of going before Wicked Weed, Burial, and that sort of first wave came through Asheville. But we had good support from folks like Full Steam in the Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, and the
Duke, North Carolina, Tobacco Road.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for the basketball fans out there.
That's me. I'm a big Duke fan. I don't know if I'm offending you, but I am a huge Duke fan since I was the age of 7.
I'm an NC State man, and we haven't fielded a decent basketball team in years. So
no, you had a good year a couple of years ago. There was some good players you guys brought up. I got to go back in my memory. As we go along, I'll remember some names, but there's some good players that came through there for sure.
We try. That's all I'll say. But,
I'm not just being nice. I'm being serious. Like I do follow it enough that I remember some names. But that's an area that's heavily populated, and at this point, probably lots of breweries in and around college towns.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We but yeah, it's been we had New Belgium was really a key piece of our early origin story of really kind of splashing onto the scene. Everyone thought we were geniuses when New Belgium and Sierra and Oscar Blues started announcing their plans to come to the Asheville area. And we're like, guys, that's a different scale. Like they're going to use 1 million pounds a week.
Yeah.
New Belgium came and said, oh my God, we love this Carolina rye that you guys are making. We'd love to build an IPA around this. Can we have a truckload of it? And we're like, Gold, yeah, if you can give me a couple of months. And
I got to grow it.
Yeah, right.
Well, what do you mean by truckload? Do you mean the F250 truck, or do you mean?
Yeah, no, real trucks.
Yeah,
so and we did a lot of that. I know it sounds crazy, but we did a lot of that early education for folks where we're like, hey, we grow winter barley. It grows from October to June, and you can't just drop a giant order on us. We have to plan on the agricultural side of things. And but thankfully we had enough in stock to fill this New Belgium order. It goes into rye PA. It goes into 36 states, which was their full distribution footprint in 2013 into 14.
Wow.
And went on tour with Matty Smooth and his crew at a couple of beer festivals around this Southeast, and it kind of put us on the map. I mean, we now had a nationally recognized brewery. It was like, oh yeah, craft malt's cool. Check out what Riverbend's doing. And that really helped kind of launch us into a broader awareness, I'll say. And so that felt pretty good to be a part of that one. And, but yeah. And then by that point, the South Slope was starting to spool up in downtown Asheville, and we had the rise of farmhouse and mixed culture beers, and our malt fit in perfectly with that. And it was things got jumping there, and that's what helped us springboard from the 10,000 square foot to the 70,000.
So we just went live on Instagram. I just want to just shout out a bunch of people that are checking in. Chris Shelton. Well, Chris Shelton. Hold on. Fuse Tacos, Helmholtz Brewing is checking in. Jay Clancy, Brian, I think, is in there. John from Dubco. John, we're enjoying the beer very much so. Chris checking in. Shep's Eyes joined. So we're talking to Brent from Riverbend Malt House in Asheville, North Carolina. We also have Emily from Rad Craft and Vincent from DSSOLVR. So let's talk a little bit about the idea of kind of releasing a film of sort, a short, at the same time to celebrate the 10th anniversary. What were you guys doing to go into this? Was it more of a promotional concept, or you just wanted to kind of mark the decade mark? Wow. Is there a centennial? Is there a decadal? Decadal? No, there's no such thing. All right.
Sure, close enough.
Centennial would be
I'll let
amazing,
Emily
by the
field
way.
That one.
Yeah.
That was really her baby as we kind of went through this, and they did an awesome job putting that together.
Now, was it done
Thanks,
by?
Brent. Well,
Sorry, Emily. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. It sounds like you had a question.
No, I was just gonna say it was done by a local film crew, I would imagine. You know, someone that kind of knew a little bit about what was going on down at Riverbend. Was it something that was, and I don't want to make it sound too commercial, but like an out hire, or what was the concept?
Yeah, I'd love to tell the story. And it really comes full circle for me because Brent and I's background goes back almost as long as the Malt House does.
Wow.
I'm a journalist turned publicist. And back in my day, I was really excited about craft malt and the handful of maltsters that were really developing the space at the time. It's come a long way in 10 years. So far that neither Brent nor I really remember much of that first conversation, but I've been told that I was one of the first journalists to ask him some questions about what the heck this craft malt thing was altogether. So 10 years later, as I professionally answer the question, what is craft malt on a daily basis, it was really exciting that the Malt House in North Carolina came to Rad Craft, which is a communications company that serves the beer, malt, and spirit space, to take on a campaign around their 10th anniversary. And the campaign had a couple different objectives and a couple that I'll at least share for the context of this conversation. And one of them was to simply just celebrate what the Malt House had done for the last 10 years. I think it's really important to take a pause sometimes and recognize an accolade like a whole decade of not just crafting malt, but developing an industry around it and a common language vernacular so that the supply chain that now exists around small grains could. So the Malt House laying that pavement was a story that Rad Craft was really excited to take on. And we developed a what I'll call word of mouth or more organically inclined campaign around just simply getting at the heart of what that story was. That looked like myself and a couple of our team members traveling to Asheville a couple different times and leaning on the local team there to help us choose partners and sometimes take some extra B-roll when we forgot a conversation to put together this video. So Rad Craft did it internally and as a pretty bare bones grassroots video project. We wanted to tell the story, documentary style, which gave us a little bit of leniency around sometimes, quite frankly, taking video with our iPhones. And I love the result of it because if there were a term to talk about malt houses that was akin to Frankenbrew in the brewing space, I would give Riverbend that. I would give them that hat. And I think that they've really done a good job over the years of professionally troubleshooting. And this video lent itself to some of the scrappy natures of the Malt House and really how it's come full circle. Big ups to the many different videographers and folks who we worked with creating this content.
So, Emily, I just want to throw it out there that we had free Zoom forever. I had it forever. As a teacher, I get it for free. And I just got a warning that we have 6 minutes till it goes away. So I'm going to email you guys a new meeting. So as soon as this one ends, we'll just pick up the conversation after you join that new meeting. I don't know what's going on. I had no idea. Apparently that changed on July 15th of 2022.
Oh, no.
And I wasn't in school to know that, nor did I do any Zoom meetings during that time. No one made that announcement. So I'm going to really quickly send this out to you guys. We have about 5 minutes, and then you'll get cut off. Well, 6 minutes, and then we'll pick up on the second one here. I'm sending it out to you guys. Sorry about that.
You're good. I managed 8 years of running a remote company without ever having a Zoom account until the pandemic.
Oh, really?
And now, yes. And now I pay I think it's $15.99 a month to have the professional account that I would love to offer you as a loan whenever you need it.
I think you need it, though, to be on our show. But yes,
that's a good point.
I can actually get it through my school, but I didn't know they did that, and enough that I would have to actually do this. So this is part 2. It'll pick up I guess 8:30, but it's fine because it won't start until I start it again. So when it cuts off, wait about 5 minutes. We'll debrief with Charlie here, and then I'll start it up again. Jesus Christ! Before we do that, Vincent, how are you, sir?
Yeah.
I'm good.
You're on a 5-minute clock. So let me hear quickly about Dissolver, just in case nothing works, which is always the greatest thing in the world when we're in here. We actually had two shows that actually disappeared on us via Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
One with our buddies, the Warbler, up in Albany.
We had to
and another
redo
one
it.
like a couple of years ago. Yeah, we had to redo that. But then another one a couple of years ago where we lost the whole show, too. And I don't remember what that was about.
Oh, you forgot to push a button.
Yeah, I probably forgot to push a button. That's
We've
exactly
all done it.
Oh, my God.
It happens.
I know, Tom. It's just crazy. So, Vincent, tell me a little bit about yourself and give us a little breakdown about Dissolver.
Oh boy, I've been doing this for like 10 years in terms of brewing and just doing it for other people. Worked at a couple different breweries up north, moved down up in Boston, and then moved down to North Carolina to try and figure out what was up with Asheville. And I got in at a pretty good time. So
Yeah.
This was 6 years ago,
All right.
something like that. So I was working at Burial. I was the head of production there.
Wow.
Okay.
And I got to work
Pretty
with,
reputable brewery.
Yeah. I worked with Brent pretty extensively back then. And it's been a pretty cool thing to be able to, work within the craft malt space from a local perspective, knowing the maltster themselves for
Sure.
as long as I have been. But that's kind of shaped a lot of what we do with Dissolver in terms of trying to focus on beer quality first, and then the secondary aspect of a lot of what we do with Dissolver is just surrealism. So my business partner does all of our graphic design, social media, and he constantly wants to push the envelope, approach things from a different perspective, but ultimately it's about, beer and quality first.
Yeah.
So.
And you're using Riverbend Malt in how many brews, how many things? What's the go?
We actually made the commitment when COVID happened. Brent and I got on a phone call together, and it was like, "Oh no!" But realizing that if supply lines and things like this shut down, that the only real thing that we could do was put our money where our mouths were and lean local and support craft. And craft and local don't necessarily mean the same thing,
True.
especially if you're not putting your money back into your local economy and keeping that circle going. So especially when other businesses around you are kind of being put on the struggle bus.
That's a new word. I like that. The old struggle bus.
But yeah, COVID kind of upended everything for everyone, and everybody thought like, oh, well, it's COVID, and so budgets are going out the window and all this other stuff. So now is the time to cut our budget, increase our margin, and we went the opposite. And I said, now is the time to actually put our money where our mouths are and lean local and lean craft. And if we want to redefine ourselves and push through this and show that we support the local economy and actually care about craft and local, not just one or the other, then like now is the time to do it. So we actually made a commitment. All of our base malt is Riverbend.
Wow.
And has been for the better part of Dissolver's existence.
Brent's like,
like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
I want to get into that in the next segment, Brent. I want to talk a little bit about the local farmers and the local area and stuff like that. Really quick, Emily, I mean, you were talking about your background in marketing and being a publicist. How has that helped you with Rad Craft throughout these last few years?
I guess if your question is around how has the craft malt field helped me, I think that Rad Craft, following along the last decade of the craft malt community and gradually aligning more and more with it every year, has not only yielded us opportunities to work with maltsters themselves, but also on a grander scale, the ability to work in more of the B2B space. A lot of folks come to us because they want to talk to brewers and distillers and maltsters, and it turns out we speak beer and we're trying to do so fluently.
It just so happens we know what we're doing. I like it. All right, let's switch Zoom meetings. I put it in an email to you guys. Give me 5 minutes to resurrect that, and then we'll catch right back up again in just a minute. We'll be right back with Brent, Emily, and Vincent. I have to log back in now. Look, now it's going to just show nothingness. Your guys' initial thoughts on the story. Let's break this down because there's a lot to digest there. What do you guys see here that Riverbend might be doing differently than some other malting houses, whether it be locally or in the United States or even beyond?
Well, if you go in, you watch the documentary that they put out.
Yeah.
One of the key things that they said were they were like a craft, like a micro malt house.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to do things that these big, tremendous malt houses probably won't do.
Okay.
Which is experiment, make some different types of malt, experiment with flavors and colors and just by doing that,
right,
you could see now, and the product that I wanted to use in the beer maker, I tasted all the different grains that we had purchased,
right,
and they taste wonderful. Just the malt itself,
just
without
the way
using
you
it,
are.
without using it.
Okay.
Which every brewer does.
Now you go right in there. You get your hands in.
You take a few pellets.
You eat it.
You chew it.
Sweetness you're looking for.
You're
things
looking
like
for
that.
a lot of different things, biscuit flavors and chocolate notes and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And if you're a brewer, you do that. If you think you're a brewer and you don't do that, you're not a brewer.
But it's true.
Simple as that.
Now, did you see in the video the differences between what they're doing? That's something I want to get into with Brent in the next session here. They're doing some floor malting.
Oh, yes.
And then they're also doing their machine, apparently custom-made machine, where their automated service is presenting all the moisture, then drawing it out, presenting it in a time fashion, just getting the most out of each grain. In your experience, for the both of you, really, the grain that you're using, does it need to be at that level, or can you do traditional? Like, does certain malts have to be done in a certain way?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a Munich malt, which a lot of Belgian-style beers, like quads and triples, are made with a Munich malt.
Right.
A lot of your German lagers, Munich malt. You're looking for a specific flavor and color from that. If they're saying a traditional Munich and it's extremely dark or overly bitter, that's not what you're looking for.
So you want
a specific flavor out of Munich,
right?
And if that's not it, then why use it?
Right. Well, that makes sense.
All right, we got Emily back.
Well, hold on. I gotta switch this up here and then make sure that they're all doing it. Sorry, Em. So we were briefly talking about the differences between them. We'll wait for Brent and Vincent come on. But while we got you in full screen mode, there you go. Give us a little history on Rad Craft. What it initially was designed to do, what it's doing today.
Yeah, I love that question. And I'm coming up on 10 years, so I'm getting a little better practice at answering it. But it wasn't the case 10 years ago. So I went to the University of Oregon, where I got a journalism degree and a hankering for homebrew.
Oregon's a great place for craft beer, let me tell you.
Exactly. The scene up there is so developed / experimental, and there's just so much interesting stuff going on in the space. Arguably more in most spaces in the hop development communities than
Which
malt.
I'm surprised you went malt instead of hops.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a duck who moved home to Colorado because I'm a native to that state, and so sometimes I think that Colorado is more of a malt state than it is a hop state, and vice versa for Oregon. But I am also constantly proving myself wrong with partners who we work with and stories that we're hearing about in the different regions of the country. But all that to say that I started Rad Craft as truly a napkin idea because I had just, I'll say, flash forward several years of freelance writing after I got out of journalism school with my interest in homebrew. I had just authored a book about beer, and a lot of the brewers that were included in that book started asking me if I could help them write complete sentences for their brands as well. And that turned into starting Rad Craft to not only sell books, but filter some freelance that was coming through for me, less so in the writing editorial capacity and more so in the marketing of breweries, eventually distilleries, and eventually malt houses capacity. 10 years in, I can tell you that our elevator pitch is that we're here to serve the craft beverage industry, specifically when it comes to craft malt, beer, and spirits. Throw in the occasional hop farm. But 10 years ago, it was just me flailing in some ways and knowing that I needed a vessel to hold it all together.
So there was no really intention going into this of ever learning as much as you know right now about malt.
I had no idea. Yeah, no. I'll quote one of my beer heroes. Her name is Julia Hers, and she's the current director of the American Homebrewers Association, among many previous titles. But she always says, beer is just a journey, and I'm just on it. And I'll add malt to that conversation because it's important to stay humble and keep learning. And there is so much to keep learning.
Yeah. It sounds very scientific, and I want to ask Brent a little bit about this, Brent. In some of the videos that I had watched, you were talking about diving into some of the really big scientific elements of the plant itself. It's a crop. It's so much to it. And what amazed me is that you have this down for some of your base malts, but you also offer custom malts. How do you go about detailing what that malt is going to do? Because it's not like the other ones. A different generation or different species or whatever you want. What's the plant kingdom rating? Is it the same thing as the animal kingdom? Species, phylum, all that stuff.
Right.
I would imagine, right?
We're just working with one variety of barley or one plant, barley, and it doesn't even get its own speciation from winter to spring. There's only one gene difference in between the two, but. Yeah, so the science is really, much in the way a brewer can take a given yeast strain and ferment at 68 versus 72 and get different flavor profiles. Maltsters can play with those same dynamics when it comes to each of the three stages of the process. So steeping, germinating, and kilning. There's sweet spots. We want to get the steeping moisture contents up to about 45%. That's optimal. We want to build more color, we can push the moisture a little bit higher. Germination starts again. That's really where we start to decide which road we're on. So if we want Pilsner style malt, it's going to be slightly under modified. That might get 3.5 days of germination. Whereas if we want a fully modified pale ale malt, or a base for a jumping off to create a Vienna or a light Munich, we're going to go 4.5 or 5 days. During that time, you're getting more cellular breakdown, more soluble protein, and soluble protein translates into color development when you apply heat to it.
That's science. So, that's what I'm saying. Like when I was
science.
I was listening to you describe that online. I'm like, oh yeah, now I got to go look most of that up.
Right.
And I'm relatively familiar with it, but unless you've been working with it for as long as you guys have. Yeah. It seems common knowledge, in and around your workplace each day, but that's a lot to digest. Now, you guys do two different style of malting. We were talking about this while you guys were in between Zooms. You do floor, and then you have an automated system that you had custom made. Is that correct?
Pretty damn close by this point, man. It's there's some basic tenets of basically we're turning the malt with augers instead of rakes, but you're blowing a lot of air through the material because you're now a meter deep instead of just 4 to 6 inches. And so that's really the main quantum leap is airflow management in what we call the GKVs, the germ kiln vessels. So the rake coming through on the floor is enough to release the heat and the moisture buildup inside of the piece of malt on the floor. But when we stack it a meter deep in the GKV, we now have a tremendous heat load to manage. That's one of the byproducts of that modification process.
Now, if that's not handled correctly, Brent, what happens to the malt? If something breaks down or something is not done at the right temperature or timing, what happens to the malt?
Train wreck.
Garbage, pig feed.
As one of the consultants we hired told us, he's like, the collisions are far more tremendous when you have something go wrong in a GKV versus a floor malt batch. So we've had the power go out, the airflow stops, everything, we can't turn the motors. So the grain, basically imagine a 10-ton Rice Krispie treat in a giant stainless steel vessel. And you can probably find a video online of somebody from a giant big malt house using a chainsaw to cut malt out when it doesn't get turned properly.
Well, listen, if we know Emily by now, she could market it as a Guinness Book of World Records, where you could make the biggest Rice Krispie treat ever and get something out of it.
Biggest dog treat. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's a Guinness Book.
Most unique use for a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, things can go horribly wrong. It can get hot and sweaty and start smelling like a gym sock from all of the bacterial growth. So we really have to keep a tight eye on these batches as they go through. We tell all of our staff as they go through training, like, this is not just a manual labor job. There's an organoleptic connection to this product, and we need you. If you smell something, say something. Like, pay attention, please. It's not just going through we're not just making donuts here.
The level of quality control has to be heightened, especially in the later stages of the malting process, right? I mean, you got to be right on that all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially if we're doing a specialty kiln run like a dark Munich that, it's just, you get into this almost like coffee roasting mentality where you're taking samples every 15 minutes because the color is developing so quickly that you need to hit your target and stop it and add cool air and bring the temperature down.
Now, let's say floor versus the automated system. Do we get a difference if you try to do the same exact malt the same exact way? Are we getting any big differences? Is there something to be said for the traditional way of malting?
Here's what I'll say. Only one of our customers has been able to tell the difference between the floor malt and the GKV produced material.
And that's Vincent.
No, actually not. But But the difference really is in our design of the GKVs. We paid a lot of attention to airflow modulation. So when you go through the floor malt, you build up heat, you pull the rake through, and it drops back down, and it kind of goes through the sinusoidal wave.
Yeah.
And with our GKVs, we sort of allow it that same sort of ebb and flow, more so than the sort of flatline approach that larger scale malt houses. So we're kind of tiptoeing into that methodology as best we can at a more manageable scale. So I haven't had too many folks tell the difference.
I'm gonna ask three brewers here. Vincent, I'll start with you. Do you have a preference?
I think the one thing that did get glazed over a little bit maybe is the fact that the floor malting and what you're capable of doing there, the way that Riverbend has it set up is very cool. So they can regulate the depth of the malt bed, they can regulate the room temp, and then they can regulate time. So you can speed up, slow down germination, and then speed up or slow down your buffer window in terms of how quickly that temperature change is going, your delta. So you can control that like significantly more. And so Riverbend did some really cool stuff where it was like extra cool germination and then, or a really extended germination. And so they did that for a little while, and they did a 9-day Pils. Was it the 9-day Pilsner?
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. I was obsessed with that malt, but it had this like green tea, grassy jasmine thing that truly I've never had in any other base malt. So he's able to do some really cool stuff. And then with the fact that they started from that, and then all of their equipment has been specifically engineered to try to mimic what they were able to do on a smaller scale. Because they've worked with these farmers and because they have these like really intricate relationships within their community, that base for them doesn't really change too much from year to year. Obviously, like there's crop changes, but they know what that base is. So then they have the capability to move that through as they scale up. So for us, there hasn't been too much quality turbulence as the scaling up has happened. And if there is anything off, I'll hear about it from Brent. Like, yo, protein's really high on this one. Or, yeah, like, let us know we tried something different. Like, let us know if anything's off. But the cooler thing that I've found is because of that consistency, then when Brent is finding single origin malts, or doing some really cool stuff, like they've taken base barley from North Carolina and shipped a truck of it to where was it? Skagit Valley.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that Oregon?
Washington State.
Washington State. So they got a truckload of Washington barley, and then they sent a truckload of North Carolina barley to Washington, and then each maltster malted it how they would. And the fact that it was Riverbend, nothing else changed. It was exactly how Riverbend would have processed their base, produced a wildly different product, just showcasing terroir.
So there's a lot to say about the process.
Yeah,
I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with the product, but like the process really does, highlight the things you want to highlight with the product.
Yeah, and if you know the maltster and you understand how they work with their product, the individual origins can help you to differentiate different products. But then if you change that up dramatically and you have completely different barley from a completely different sector of the United States, that in and of itself is such a uniquely different product that's going through the same process. So
I smell a collab in something just like that, right? I mean,
yeah. We got maltsters in New York State. So
nice.
Let me paint a quick picture for you. Because just to sort of dovetail that all together, so because it's a two-way street for us. We're doing all these things. We use a software package called Draft Lab as a way of tracking the flavor profiles.
All right, I'm downloading it now.
What's that?
I said I'm downloading that right now.
Yeah, super cool stuff. So
that's awesome.
When we're playing with new varieties of barley, I'll send Vince like the flavor descriptors, and I'll just be like, "This is what I'm picking up. Here it is. I've got a couple of tons to play around with." And he'll say, "Sweet, that sounds perfect for a Helles," or "That sounds perfect for the Maibach I'm going to do." And so at the apex of our sort of gallivanting around and playing with all these different varieties, I came into his tap room and he had 4 different light beers made with 4 different Pilsner malts with 4 different varieties of barley. And I was just like, this is a hallelujah moment here, just having that kind of diversity, and then sitting down with Vince to like get, his take on the finished beer and what, hey, this one's okay, this one's great, I would do this a little differently, or I wonder what this malt tastes like if it was a 4 SRM Vienna versus a 2 SRM Pilsner style, so getting that kind of feedback on the finished beers and just geeking out on lagers really is it's been super, super fun with
that. Does sound like a brewer's thing to do. Everyone just geeking out on a nice crisp lager.
Yeah.
Charlie, your concept between floor or automated, are you looking for something specific? What's your concept as a brewer looking for out of your malt?
Well, we've been buying from the big malt houses because price restrictions were killing us, and it going to the locals.
Yeah.
So the local prices, I believe, they've started to level out.
We're talking about in New York.
Yeah, we're in the process of trying to get a dual license, so we can do some local New York farm malting.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd be very interested in some cool stuff out there, because sometimes we're looking to make something and you got to combine a bunch of different malts to get that profile that you want. You want to come out with something, every month people walk in, or every few weeks, they walk, what's new? So you have to have the ability to have a supplier that can say, hey, listen, we can do some of this crazy malt stuff that give you these flavors, and it would be interesting to see what would happen. I mean, we've been very fortunate. When we changed our system out, we just went with the new system, and we have had no issues with it. It's been a process of just, every once in a while we'll tweak things, as the Change of Jamaica came out. It's first time on the new system. It was tweaked a little.
There you go. We got a black IPA from 1940s there, guys. It's one of my favorite styles, black IPA.
But we've been
That
approached by
malty, roasty, chocolatey, coffee-ish IPA, one of my favorites. Steve, what about you? What about malt? When you were doing your brews, were you specifically looking for something out of it, or did you think about floor versus automated systems? What was
The majority of malt we used were from Wireman.
okay?
And
Is that New York?
No, that's Germany.
definitely,
And they were floor malt. And actually, Brent, you guys, when you floor malt, is your floor aerated? Is it temperature controlled, or is it the room that's temperature controlled?
Room is temperature controlled. Actually, if you use kind of radiant heat in the floor, you'll actually run the risk of increasing condensation
Because it'll stick to the
And
floor,
then
right?
you'll get mold.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Six
And,
inches deep on the floor. You got to be raking that pretty consistently if you don't want to.
And actually,
3 times a day.
that's what I was going to ask. How many times a day you guys rake for?
Yeah, and Wireman's the same. They just, when they make big batches, they're bigger, and their floor malt batches are way bigger than ours too. But they usually charge a premium for the floor malted material versus their GKV, and we don't. We just use the floor malt is honestly a lot of R&D and a lot of custom projects, specialty offerings, and
now. Do you think that the cost difference is that because of labor and time, or is it shouldn't be that way? They're just doing it because it's a novelty. It's not really a novelty, but some brewers are like, ooh, floor malting, right? I mean, there's got to be something to that.
I think they're playing on the nostalgia, and they're also running some heirloom type varieties through that system, there's a lot of romance around floor malt. I mean, it's definitely more labor intensive for sure. I mean, I always tell people, everyone's like, oh, it's a shame, you don't continue to floor malt, and I'm like, well, let me paint a picture for you. You're in a 70,000 square foot building, and if I spread 40 tons of malt out onto the floor of this building, someone would have to rake for pretty much 8 hours a day. And they're always like, oh, now I get it.
They're just picturing it in their mind going, there's just going to be someone walking all day.
Well,
there's a big rake.
Well, in their head,
and cussing and sweating.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
They think, it's a guy on a
automated, like a John Deere.
No, it's not what he's doing.
We've seen some crazy contraptions. People are always amazed that you can walk on it and not destroy it. And like, well, it's like a little.
You got like a good pad. It's not crushing. You got, like you said, 4 to 6 inches. So think about 4 to 6 inches of snow. I mean, it's a different type of, solidity. But in the end, it's something that you're not going to be breaking them apart just because you're walking on them.
Brent, when you guys started out, did you guys try to better use of word? Did you guys try to replicate any other big malt house
processes?
Styles of like say, for instance, like say like Brees, like their Munich or like Wyman's Carafa 2 or something like that. Did you guys at all try to do that, when you started out, or did you just said, all right, let's just try to do some base malts?
We were so green, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we came back from those early batches and we're like, it's darker, but maybe that's just the color of this malt from this variety of barley. No one's ever made malt with thoroughbred 6-row barley. Turns out you need fresh air to come into the kiln. So when our instructor from Canadian Malting Barley came down, Dr. Yushu Lee, he just looked at us and he was like, fresh air, cut a hole in that and extend the ductwork into the outdoors. And then we're like, okay, sure. First batch of malt we did that wasn't like a rainforest level of humidity inside the building. changed the world.
Yeah.
Light and color. We had a functioning pale malt. The extracts went up. We were basically making Munich early on because we didn't have
Even though you didn't know it.
airflow. We had plenty of heat, no fresh air.
Yeah.
So we were stewing it.
Wow.
It sounds pretty good.
It was delicious. It's still a product we make. It's called Heritage Malt, and it's somewhere in between a Vienna and a light Munich.
Okay.
And we've had to reverse engineer actual functioning malting equipment to recreate those flavor profiles from the non-fresh air having just basically, from the South, we call it a crock pot, just basically a malt crock pot is where we started off.
Again, sounds delicious.
Wow.
Yes, please.
It's great. It's, but yeah, no, the only, the holy grail is Maris Otter, of course,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Can we put our
All the
finger
brewers
on
are like, yep.
Maris Otter and pin it down?
All of that.
Absolutely not. It tastes different from different parts of the UK
Sure.
where it's grown. Different malt houses malted anywhere from 2.5 to 5 SRM in color, and it's you can't pin it down. The closest we get is Southern Select, our sort of richer pale ale style base malt, but it's more floral than Maris Otter just because of the Violetta barley that's in there, creating more of that sort of honeysuckle, green tea kind of character. But we like the depth of it.
But that's a great thing because, when brewers get that malt, they now know that, it's not going to be like, a crisp Maris Otter or a Thomas Fawcett. It's going to have its own unique, characteristics.
Right.
And they'll come back to it, especially if they make a great product with it.
Well, but I think that's part of the interesting thing, and that's part of what is on breweries, or more specifically the marketing team, to help push that narrative of, oh, well, we can make a Bock. So we made a Maibach with 100% Riverbend, and there were like 9 malts in there. But the reason that we were using 9 malts is because a Maibach is wildly specific in terms of flavor profile,
Sure.
but to get that malt character, we don't have that here. So we have to replicate it. So the only way to do it is to kind of pick and piece it together from a bunch of different malts to try to replicate this. So to that point, we don't have what I would consider to be like the golden promise or pearl malt.
Right.
we don't have that because it's not grown here. But what we do have is something that can then make our pub ales differentiated from English pub ales.
Exactly.
So we're making the same thing, but then it allows us to put our own flair on it.
Sure.
And I feel like that's where, as a brewer, that's your job.
Exactly.
It's like, cool, you're making an approximation of it, so get as close as you can, but still keep it in the same wheelhouse, I guess.
Vinny, what is your favorite malt that you get from Riverbend?
Oh, man.
Brent's smiling. He's like, say the right
Come
one.
on, say it.
Say it.
That's tough.
wrong
I
answer.
would say it's probably the Cumberland Pilsner.
Okay.
Man, it's that or the Light Munich is so good.
Now, I had another question for Emily before I forget it. Emily, so in dealing with all this and getting this information and being able to kind of extract what actually is going on between the language that brewers use, the malt houses use, I know you become familiar with all that. How do you then put that more in layman's terms so you can kind of get that information out to the general public?
Yeah, I love that question. The first answer is just immerse yourself and learn more and get involved on an everyday basis. And that has really helped me get my voice on to be able to speak malt, if you will. When in doubt on
The language of malt.
Yes. The language of malt, yes. When in doubt on any kind of flavor explanation, especially to a general public, some of whom might not be able to ever taste that or might be further removed, is defer to food flavors and defer to the 5 senses. Those are really great spaces.
Just
to think about
something that people can relate to
flavor.
Much more easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've heard Brent use a couple examples today, like toast or honeysuckle or even honeydew melon. I mean, those are all places that have references in your brain, even if you don't fully understand that malt is the complete basis or most of the complete basis of the flavor in this pint or tulip in my case. Yeah, so I definitely have to say, like, think flavor first. And I think also consider your audience. There's an audience that is going to be a lot more inclined to get nerdy, nitty gritty, more homebrew and process centric. There are also audiences that just want to know what the final product may be. And that's where partnering up to co-message with amazing breweries like DSSOLVR is an excellent tactic, I should say, for a malt house, because a lot of people, myself included back in the day, had no idea what all of this grain looked like that eventually became beer. But if you can hook them on something that they're familiar with, like a beer itself, that goes a long way.
Now, you've been down to the malt house, I assume. Have you been given the privilege to bring the rake into the floor malting?
I haven't actually.
Oh, Brent.
So I think that's going to.
It has to happen now. It has to happen. Let her drag the rake.
That would be the first thing I'd want to do.
You guys.
If I came down Riverbend, that's the first thing I'd want to do. I'd be like, Brent, can I just rake the floor really quick? Because it's just the pictures, the stuff. You got the boots on. You look like you're doing something.
For me, it would be the aroma.
Just to smell the room?
That
I don't
comes
know what I've been
off the
thinking
floor.
all this time. I guess taking video.
you've had the video camera running.
Oh, that's right. She's been the one behind the scenes.
This is a good space to shout out Sean at Full Steam, because he did visit the malt house a few weeks ago and put up an Instagram reel of himself raking to the tune of Shakira, "Hips Don't Lie." and his hips did not lie.
That is awesome.
They better have not have lied, because
that's great.
Shakira will be rolling over in her very expensive house.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Emily, getting into there and getting your hands dirty, is there something that you want to take Rad Craft to? Is there a next level to kind of where you want to go with this?
Wow, that's a big question. Yeah, I mean, always. I founded this thing on the mission and the intention that craft beer media can be elevated and that we can provide education behind the story to tell the story better. And so I have to say, if there are journalists out there listening to this who want to learn more about beer but have no idea where to start, or malt more specifically, we are here to help. And we also end up being a great liaison between media telling stories and those who have really interesting ones to tell like this. So
I think
very cool.
Yeah, we share that in common, because the initial, mission statement of our show was to bring the stories, the journeys, and the information out to the average craft beer drinker, user, whatever you want to call it. And, for the interviews that we've done for, the last 5.5 years or whatever it is, it's been amazing to hear some of the different places people come from, the different processes and things people use, and with you guys as no exception, just the amazing stories that come with that. Vincent, when you started at DSSOLVR, coming over from Burial,
well, before that, Vince, where were you in Boston?
So I was one of the first employees at Night Shift.
Oh, thank God! All right, we could take Night Shift.
And then I helped open Lord Hobo way back in the day.
Cool.
Yeah, over by the harbor, or which one?
No, the original one up in Woburn.
Nice.
Yeah, I ran that system solo for the first 12,000 barrels, which was not much longer than a year. It aged me 10 years.
It broke you as an individual, I bet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. And then I did some consulting for Salud, Birds Fly South, a couple breweries that changed names or projects, and then I helped open a craft beer bar called The Whale in Asheville. So
cool.
Quite the journey from up north to down south.
Hosting Swansea Day this weekend.
Yes. God damn, I missed that.
The old school stuff.
Well, Swansea Day is unbelievable day. You drink all beautiful Cantillon beers, and it's all wild, fermented wonderfulness. And every year it's something different.
You're making me very thirsty.
Yeah.
Son of a gun. We are, again, towards the end of the Zoom call, and I'll schedule a third one so we can wrap it up with you guys and I'll send that out just after it ends.
What
so
are you doing here?
there's nothing I can do. I didn't know this going into tonight.
Why didn't you?
We'll fill in time as it gets to while I'll send over the newsroom information. They'll come back on. It was seamless. That worked really well before. I don't want to do this ever again, by the way.
And here's the thing with this.
Yeah.
Poor Brent is out in the field with the goddamn combines.
How do you have Wi-Fi out there? It's amazing.
They got it hooked up out there. And he's even got a glass of beer he's drinking out in the field.
I know, and as you said,
that's so awesome.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
He also has sunshine behind him.
Well, it's a little overcast
Magic.
right now, but
The internet is
doesn't
magic.
look like
That's all
it's
you need to
immaculate
know.
reception.
but by the way, Brent, what are you drinking right now?
So I'm embarrassed to say I scrambled out to the Dissolver tap room to purchase some of the delicious lager, only to find it closed on a Monday night.
Vince, why would you do that to Brent?
He's an email away.
It's the 2 days a year that we do employee appreciation. We
Right.
rent a lake house. That's why I'm in this weirdly nautical themed bunk bed.
So
Well,
I
thanks very
poured
much
the
for joining us
lager
from your bungalow.
Zolotoa into a Dissolver glass.
There you go.
You
There you
can
go.
think of what should be there.
Right?
Apologies.
And Emily, what are you drinking?
I also scrambled to at least find a beer made with Riverbend Malt. At least I have no dissolver around here, but I have the Tennessee Haze from Harding House Brewing in Nashville.
Nice.
And they make all of their beer with 100% craft malt and predominantly Riverbend Malt. They've made that commitment, much
Awesome.
like Dissolver.
I see. You guys are doing the right thing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And Vince is, well, he's in his nautical themed bunkhouse there, so he doesn't have any beer right now.
No, he's drinking Anchor Steam.
That's
it.
I'm drinking red wine.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. You got to change it up every so often, brother. You have to.
The keg got kicked yesterday, and yeah,
That's all the alcohol that's left, so it's like a bottle of Manischewitz that was left over from something.
Got a couple saltines. You good to
Yeah,
go.
whatever.
Yeah, breaking Shiva. Is that what you
Vince,
call it?
give them a little rundown though. It's not just lagers, right? I mean, y'all. I tell people, I point all the guests that come to the malt house to your establishment because you run the gamut. So you let everybody know what's happening on the tap list.
Well,
right
I want to
now.
give you, Vincent, I want to give you some time. So when I read through the Zoom and I email to you again, let's spend some time with you about Dissolver and break that down, as we're very much used to having our breweries on, our brewery guests, and I really want to get into that. Before this session is up, I want to ask a few questions. Actually, we want to ask 3 specific questions that actually, we'll do that in the second session because it usually takes a long time.
Yes.
And we'll
So
do
we're gonna
that.
do nothing now.
What?
So we're just gonna do nothing.
No. I'm gonna end the Zoom call with
Thomas.
them. I'm gonna schedule a new one. We'll break down.
And we apologize for this because
It
this
doesn't happen.
This doesn't happen.
Mr.
I've never
but
recorded the same podcast twice. I'll say that.
But guess what? Guess what? When we edit it, it will be seamless and it'll look like it
It
never
was
happened.
seamless before when I had to
Oh,
switch
you
the Zoom
just-
calls. We
you,
just
sir.
debriefed.
You sir.
I'm gonna just let me quickly post this really fast, and then we'll get it going. And then we'll have this done, and this will be part of this segment, and we want to return with you guys with Steve's 3 questions, a nice segment that we do with our guests, and get ready to answer some really, really tough questions. It's going to be difficult, I think, I'm going to say mostly Vincent.
Is your favorite color?
No, that's all right. So let's say goodbye to you for just a moment. We'll be right back with Brent, Emily, and Vincent. And then let's talk quickly about, because of the questions I want to ask the 2 of you, brewers. You said Wireman, and you said, what are your favorite malts? And that's not one of Steve's questions. Like, what's your go-to malt with everything that's out there and everything that you could possibly get? And don't make it, if you had to do it without cost, without worrying about cost,
Right. Ooh.
what would you do?
Yeah, what would be your go-to? What would be those malts you would want in the brew house all the time?
Well, one would be Marisata, definitely.
Like base malt all day?
From who, though?
We get ours from, ours is from, I think, Crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one, baby.
That's the one.
That's my
Crisp?
favorite.
I mean, I will take
Crisp Marisata.
I will take Thompson's, I think it is,
Okay,
on
yeah.
a backup, or there's Simpson's is the backup that we take. I love Wireman's. If I could use Wireman's Pilsner a lot, we would.
Yeah.
Basic two-row is...
I don't even want to know what it's up to right now, price-wise, to get it.
It's really that bad?
It's
Don't
it's
Don't ask.
You know what it is, and
There's been a shortage of it because of the supply situation.
Exactly, that's the key. And so now, when you get it, it's the shipping that is being, just
Jacked
a
up.
horrendous amount of
they're jacking up the price to
surcharge
cover
per
it.
pallet now,
Ugh.
and it's not their own. It's not their fault. It's fuel went up. We had
Right. I mean, it's the byproducts of whatever it was.
what everything else is going
Right.
on.
The question is, will it ever come down?
And that's the thing. And I'll state it later. You listening to this?
I'm listening to this.
Go to the.
Oh, you talking to me or no?
Go to the breweries.
Yeah.
Anybody that's listening to this show.
Yeah.
Go to the breweries and buy the beer from the brewers. Go right to the tap room, whether you could stay there or not.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, even better, have a couple of pints of flight. Go there and buy the beer from the breweries, because they're going to get the most out of that. They're going to reap the benefits of the what you just spent.
Right.
Where if you buy it at a Home Depot, and I'm not saying don't buy stuff at Home Depot, because if you can't get to the brewery, then yes, go to your local distributor and get the beer from them.
Right.
But
What are you saying?
I'm saying try to buy all the local breweries.
Okay.
Stay local.
Yeah, I don't mind that concept. Is that easy enough though? Is that sustainable?
It is extremely easy.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, just making sure.
Yeah.
All right, we got everyone back on the line. Let's just.
Of course it is. There's plenty of breweries on.
I'm asking because you guys would know better. I don't know to that level. Is that a sustainable thing to have?
It's one of your. You got to look at it as a three-legged stool.
Okay.
And
that's very wobbly.
Yeah. And going into the tasting room and
that's
having
my
a pint.
CEO's favorite. He loves the three-legged stool.
See, he knows. He's back on.
Production.
We actually look at it as tasting room, beer to go, and what goes out the back door.
Okay. And that makes sense because that's
your biggest margins are what is your tasting room, but you're limited to how much that can grow based on the size of your space.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing is encouraging people to get beer to go. Take it to go.
Right.
That way you're selling it directly to the consumer.
Which I appreciate because I've actually done a couple of little tests to see. I buy it at the brewery and then I'll go to a local D. Now I like supporting my local Ds because they need to stay there as well. Because when you're not open or when someone's not open, or when you're in Holbrook and I want to get it right in my town in 5 minutes for that night for the Met game, I want to go get my change of Jamaica at some guys because they have your beer.
Well, for me.
But you're right. As opposed to always going there, it makes more sense that if I'm going to enjoy myself for a night of drinking or for a Saturday, Sunday day drinking, which I might do, by the way, I'll talk to you.
That's why I brought extra.
Yeah, well, let's save that for when I get there. The idea is I'm leaving with beer. I think every brewery I go to, Tom, you can chime in on this as well, right? If I have a beer, I'll go through the gamut, things I haven't had, things I'm interested in. I'll take that beer to go. I want to get at least one or two of something to go. That is where your price points really make a big difference, correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have, that's why we call it's three legs, because that is limitless.
Right.
That's one of your limitless ones that if you have the right crews working behind the taps, they can always say when somebody close out, would you like something to go?
And that, to me, the answer is always yes. Yes.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, that's always, that's like, it's a no-brainer. For some of them that are very local, they say, no, we'll be back. We know where we are.
Yeah. You see them, weekly, a couple times a month.
And then you have, for instance, we're all the way out in Suffolk. There are people who live in eastern, central Nassau, whatever, and to come all the way out with all the traffic.
They
that,
want to have something
quote,
to go
unquote,
with.
Long Island has, which is a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
You know, if you're lucky, it takes you 40 minutes, an hour to come out to some of the breweries, even further east. Well, how much you going to drink before you try to drive back home?
Right.
And the Uber is going to like going cha-ching,
Challenge
cha-ching,
accepted.
cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Well, if you have the Uber, then you're fine. But if you don't, you might want to have a pint, maybe two, wait it off, do the time thing, and then go all the way home.
Yeah.
And now you continue the party with that same beer you were enjoying at the brewery.
Exactly.
Really quick, guys, you're back on for hanging with us in our
Again, thank you so
ridiculously.
much. And again, Brent is still out there in the field.
He's
Combines
still
in the
in
background.
Sun hasn't
Thank
moved
you
an inch.
so much, brother.
Yeah, I had to figure out the background because I was taking Zoom calls during COVID in my daughter's purple princess themed bedroom. And it was tough to have any kind of, gravitas or really you have people take you seriously when there was a multi-toned purple playroom in your background.
Fantastic. I want to get to these questions. This is a staple on our show now. We're going to hear a quick intro music, and then Steve's going to come in with his 3 questions for you guys. So here it is. Hey, you cool hep cats. Tonight, we bring you a very special presentation. 3 questions with our very own Steve Pominski. Yeah. Steve's questions. 3 questions from Steve. 3 questions. Steve's questions go.
Special occasions.
I have to do it every single time.
Every time.
Every time.
It's part of the bit.
It really is.
It's part of the
really
bit.
is. Okay. So we have these 3 questions. Each one it's just answer honestly. Please don't lie. I'm only I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. These questions are very simple. They're very straightforward. I ask one question at a time per each of you. We'll start with Brent. All right. So, Brent, what was that first beer that you had that you said, wow, craft beer, what is this? I need to get more of it.
Firestone Walker Double Barrel Ale.
Oh, man, you
Wow.
started off good.
Yeah. That's a good. We haven't had that one yet.
No. I actually should start off ladies first, but,
Yeah.
well, his face was right there.
Well, it was, and he disappeared into the cornfield like
Yeah,
children
he
of
was-
the court type stuff.
For a second.
He melted.
Oh, there he is.
Where'd he go?
Holy moly.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah. He built it. They came. They took him away. Emily?
Emily, what was that beer?
I have an answer I can only imagine you've heard a lot of times. It is
Oh, good.
Sierra Nevada
Yep.
Pale Ale.
Wonderful.
And that is one of mine.
My college roommates were from Chico, and they basically swapped out my shitty macro lager for a pale ale instead.
So it's Bud Light, right? I mean, was it Coors Light, Bud Light, or Busch Light?
Oh gosh,
It was
if that's
Natty
really
Light.
My life,
Oh, you
it
gotta
was
have a
probably
Natty.
a 40 of malt liquor.
Yeah.
And then she taped it to her hands, and she did Edward 40 hands.
I feel like that's a popular answer because you can get
Played
that
game
anywhere.
once.
That's true. That is like a universal
Like
language
at a
of beer.
restaurant or a
Yeah.
bar. It doesn't matter where you are, you're going to find that.
Yeah. That's
All right.
cool.
Absolutely, it's
So-
a classic.
So it's always the brewers I like to ask this question. So Vince, what was that one beer that you said, wow, all right, I got to know more about what craft beer is all about?
Oh man, probably the worst answer. It was Shock Top, but I understand that that's not craft. So then I was Allagash White.
Oh,
The gas.
Wow,
Gotta have
that's
the
like
gas.
yeah, that's like
But I will give it to Shock Top. That was like the barrier, and then a friend of mine was like, "That's not good." So I was like, oh my god!
Remember, I couldn't think about the name of the pumpkin
Yes.
beer that I started with. We talked about this a couple
Oh,
weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah, it was the Shock
And it
Top.
was Shock Top, and I couldn't think of it. And I was going over and over. So we were here at Governor's Comedy Club. I was a bartender here for, I don't know, close to 7 years. And it was the first time I had pumpkin beer. Was here, believe it or not. It sold so hard. This was early on like 2012, maybe even earlier than that, before like pumpkin beer was pumpkin beer. And it was one of those things where I'm like, this is kind of cool. And I found a really good way to rim the glass without it being a messy, freaking terrible experience. And Shock Top Pumpkin
No rims
went
here.
down so quick. It was like, what, 6.5% or something like that? I gotta look
No
it up.
clue.
It
'Cause
was,
I hate it.
It wasn't terrible, though. I remember it. I'd still
Okay.
drink one now
All
if I
right.
had to.
Whatever.
I'm just don't
drink-
look at me
you
differently.
drink
Don't
your-
look at me differently. I'm
All
just
right.
saying.
Wait a minute. We know how to torture him
Question
now.
number
Yes,
two.
yeah, someone's a little some hard up
I
on
hate it.
pumpkin beer.
All right, Brett.
What's wrong with that flavor profile? Let me
shut
just
up.
tell you.
Just shut up, you.
I-
I love you, but I hate you. Brent, what is your favorite style of beer as of today?
Oh, Saison.
Nice.
Wow,
Nice.
Pete's missing out on some good
Yeah,
answers. Our
yeah.
other
Wait.
co-host Pete is a basically Allagash super fan
Belgians
and loves Belgians and
Saisons.
saisons
Yep.
all day.
Yep.
Wait,
Oh,
can
yeah.
I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Are you talking like clean saison, American saison?
Oh,
I would say that he would go American saison.
yes, definitely.
I thought he was like a dark lager guy.
No,
Well-
well, he does that.
As
but
long as it's
he's
not
top.
overly adorned, I'm in.
Okay.
It can go Brett. It can go.
Okay.
It can go classic, but just I don't need a lot of frills on it. Just
Yeah, nice and
drive
clean.
it perfectly, and we'll be good. Proper carbonation.
There you go.
Rocky
Well, that's the key. Yeah, not over carbonated where I'm sitting there with a half a cup of foam.
Man, in North Carolina, brewers don't get that. They miss that with saisons, and it makes me upset.
Vince, I better hope that's not you, Vince.
We
No,
really don't make them that much.
I know.
I beat my sales team up with pub ales enough where I think a
Right.
saison would.
He's got nothing left. By the time he finishes with smoked beer and the pub ale, all of that,
I
people
want
are
to talk to you
like,
about smoke beer, though. We'll get to that in a little
We'll
bit.
get to that.
Yeah. I'm in. You just raised a.
A thing?
Yeah.
Wait, really quickly, because did we ask Tom this last time he was in?
What?
The one.
Well, he wasn't here the last time,
Oh, that's true.
but
Yeah.
he did ask me over the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, when I was on the bench
When
at
you
the
were,
Met game.
yeah,
Oh,
when
that's right. You
in
were at the Mets
dugout.
game.
I was
With
busy.
Buck Showalter,
Yeah, I was
that's
busy
right.
with Buck.
That's right.
And then I brown nosed him and I said it was the yada yada yada.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's a
brown-nosed.
fact. I mean, it's the first.
All right.
You know.
Well, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2.
Well, yeah, I'm still got to go with Emily now. Question 2. We
Yeah,
already
question
started.
2. You got it.
Emily, what was
Favorite beer style
Right now.
This answer evolves for me, but today it's Helles Lager.
We had one of those a little earlier.
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
We
From
do
our
it.
boys at Dubco.
Yeah. Is it this one? No, that's the
That's the
pills.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Captree is a
Captree.
cool style ale at 4.6.
Yeah, the others.
No, this was the Helles right here.
Oh, was it? Oh,
right here.
Oh, it was a Kolsch. That's
geez.
right.
Yeah,
this is the Helles.
Damn right. Which was very
Cut
good,
'em
by
off.
the
Come on,
way.
brother.
I'm sorry, I did look quick.
Vince, what is your favorite style as of today?
Super tough. It's probably Italian Pilsner,
Ooh.
but
Interesting.
it's like a very close second with a dark English mild because there's like, if you get one of those on hand pump, ooh baby, it's really hard to beat that like warm malty
Yeah.
raisiny.
Yep.
Oh, but an Italian Pilsner is probably it.
Ah.
Now, do you go traditional? Do you do like the Stella Artois or anything like that?
Well, he's probably going to the Peronis.
Peronis.
We have like everything I do is a bastardized American version to some degree of whatever.
It's a
style.
Jon Snow version, we'll put it that way.
There you go.
So what we do is it's one of our flagships. It's a cold caprese pizza. It's an Italian style Pilsner. So we'll do 100% Riverbend, and it's the Cumberland Pils, which is just this like beautifully light, balanced. The name makes it sound like the malt is going to be super heavy, but it really lays into the background. Really awesome crackery character, killer diastatic power, finishes super dry, great protein content. So it drops out like a mofo in the kettle.
Nice.
But then we'll do a blend of new school and old school with a very light dry hop. So
Okay.
but we also do full spunding and a 6-week lager in a horizontal tank with no fining agents. So we're equally old school and new school in production methodology and execution, ingredient sourcing, and again, interpretation of the style.
Equally simple tools versus fancy bougie kind of stuff.
What do you guys using hop-wise in that beer?
So I'm gonna pull the recipe up because I don't want to misspeak.
Smart.
But we do. Give me one sec. Sorry, I'm always terribly afraid to misspeak on anything.
I love that you want to make sure this is correct.
So they top this off with the can design that looks like a pizza box, just in case you
weren't sure what this was.
What was
it's even got the grease stains on it and everything.
Nice.
Okay, so we do.
Every case comes with one of those little tables, mini white tables that you put in the pizza box.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, see? They're so cheap. I looked them up because I was just going to hand them out to people.
My friend's grandparent owns the patent to that.
Get out of here.
Swear.
How much do they make on that?
Well, we'll find out when
Three-
Take Two opens. He'll be
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
2 cents a table.
Still, you know how many hundreds of thousands of tables go out a day?
Hundreds
Probably
of thousands, millions.
A day? I don't know about a day, but that's
across the United States.
maybe. That's
Bro, I have 19 pizza places in my town alone. All right, that's what I'm gonna say.
That seems a little lowish.
Lowballing.
Exactly.
Welcome to Long Island, where every town has
Jesus
19 pizza
Christ.
They're
places.
blocked 2 away from each other.
That's true. I got at least 5 in the village of Lyndhurst itself.
We have 3 within literally a quarter of a mile of each other.
And how many pizzas do you think they sell? Now multiply that by towns.
Yeah.
And you're right. You're right.
then
It could be
tables
millions.
and
You think there'd be more turf wars going on?
Yeah, but it's the 4-legged versus the 3-legged pizza days, and that's the thing. Like Emily's got to get on what that cost is if it's
for have one leg or
one leg,
one
2,
3 legs,
3 legs or 4. Yeah,
that extra leg cost.
man, that would be great.
All right, I need to know these hops.
Okay, go ahead.
I got you. Okay,
Nice.
so
He's got
we tried to keep it. So with anything that we do, it's if we're gonna keep it rooted old school and new, the boil additions for a lager specifically are hyper important in driving
Yep.
bitterness and also how that bitter character builds. So the presence of those alphas.
Sure.
You want a low alpha, high vegetal matter throughout the boil, layered, and then you're going to get that bitterness that's going to carry through after lagering. So we do Hallertau middle fruit throughout the boil,
Nice.
and then a whirlpool of Pacifica, which is a super fun, slightly fruitier, think like Mandarina Bavaria, but Southern Hemisphere, and it pops. It's like a Southern Hem noble hop. And then we do a very light dry hop of Tettnang and then Saphir. So Tet being old school, super traditional,
Yep.
very vegetal forward. And then Saphir being of the new school German varietal breed where...
Little old, little new.
The
old gods
but
and the
still,
new gods.
I was waiting to hear like a
in-
Czech
in
Saz
vegetal
or something like that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing high oil,
Yeah.
nothing
yeah.
high beta, nothing high alpha, just good clean hops.
Nice. I got to get down to Asheville.
Yeah, I know.
I really do. Actually, that's the next trip
Yeah?
that me and the wife are taking.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
It's a
We're
great...
going to be coming down to Asheville very soon.
I've been down there twice already.
Oh, shut the hell up. Who's asking you, old man?
What's taking you so long?
Well, when
You know, we
By the way,
we had the Civil War down there too.
I was
you
gonna
know,
say,
so-
see, you beat me to
By
it.
the-
I was gonna say.
by the way, guys, I just want you to know Charles from 1940s Brewing. It literally 1940s was when he turned 60.
He's aged very well.
So he was the guy to put the cannonball into the cannon during the Civil War, and he survived. So that's great that
I'm
Charles
still
is
here.
with
He's
us.
still here, brewing beer.
Bravo.
All right,
I was going to ask you, like, what kind of malt houses were there back in the, the 1880s?
there was nothing.
Zero.
Not
Nothing,
my friend.
unless you were overseas. All right, question number 3 and final question. All right, Brent. Right now, you go to your local restaurant, bar, pub. What's that one beer you want to see on tap? It could be any beer from any time, anywhere. What's that one beer you want to have?
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
I gave it to you, buddy.
He doesn't ask me that question.
Yeah, we gave you that question. Get out of here.
Man, I don't know. I mean,
Depends upon where the restaurant.
I think I'm going to go back to.
The food you're having.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go back to Saisons or like if there was
Who is
just,
the
Like a Saison Dupont or okay.
So I love Les Bon Vue.
Oh, okay.
So that beer paired with traditional like a French cassoulet or something like that. Like if there was a restaurant, there was a tease at a brief moment in downtown Nashville that Tasty Beverage, a big bottle shop, was going to become one of those sort of brassiere type joints, and I was just like, oh my god, this is going to be Mecca. I can have all the beautiful local things, and then I can go in and have mussels and DuPont on draft.
Sounds
it never
delicious.
came to fruition. It's now an odd like game bar kind of concept. I don't understand.
We actually have a place like that here on the island called
I don't get
Wort.
it, but anyway, I wish them well. It's a giant piece of real estate. They could have been a very sexy bar and restaurant concept. And anyway, that Les Bon Vue with a cassoulet.
There you go. Nice, Emily.
All right, I have a publicist answer for you.
Oh, look at her. No, you cannot use any of the breweries that you are right now.
I promise. But I truly mean every word of this from the bottom of my craft malt loving heart. I want beer made with local ingredients, and I want to have a conversation with the bartender about why that matters.
Okay. But what is the name of the beer you would want to drink?
What is that
You
one?
have to actually name the beer.
Local
my
lager.
goodness.
It could
Local
be from.
lager. There you go.
There you go. All right. There you go.
That's a good one.
That's good.
And
I think in
she's
most
a crispy
circles
girl.
you can find that, but
She's a
it's harder
crispy
to
girl.
find an educated enough of a bar staff who wants to talk about it or
Let me
have
tell
that
you.
background information.
Tell me if that's not some of the greatest things when you could walk into a pub or a bar or wherever, and you sit down and you actually ask a question or you say, "Hey, what is this?" and they go, well, and then they start explaining the style to you. That is probably, as a brewer,
More of that, please.
as a brewer, that's one of the things you want to hear come out of a bartender's mouth is they understand the style and the notes that are going to be behind that style and what this beer that you're actually going to give them, what the notes are on that. There's
nothing better.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
to this day,
you sit down, you enjoy
Those are
yourself.
the moments.
yeah, it really is. And then from then on, now you're as a customer, you're in. So now you're going to actually look to buy something else. Like, all right, well, what else you got that you could explain to me?
It keeps the ass in the seat. It keeps you not worried about the time, not worried about leaving, not worried about people texting you or just digging into your phone, finding something else that just doesn't matter. It keeps you there, engaged in the moment.
To this day, the worst thing I ever had, we used to brew a beer called what the hell? Insane Summer Ale. Well, Insane Summer Pilsner. And it was brewed with Citra and Sriracha Ace hops.
Huh.
And it was a really floral, like wonderful. And if you know Sriracha Ace hops, they have that very lemony, wonderful. And I go to a bar that's actually pouring the beer, and I hear the bartender, say, this one is going to be a little spicy. Because it has sriracha. Sriracha.
So not educated properly. Yeah.
Sriracha. And she actually, because she never tasted it, thought it was a spicy beer. And I almost punched her in the face.
Excuse me. Come on over here for a second. Education must be had.
I immediately called her and the manager over and I said, all right, you're misinforming everybody about
Now,
this
where
beer.
did that break down? I mean, that's an important part. You deliver the beer to the restaurant, to the bar.
You know what the breakdown is?
Yeah.
Is the
Manager to the bartender?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoever the bar manager is does not do one tasting of all the beers.
Which they should. As a bartender for almost 20 years, I taste every beer that goes on tap.
And if you're a brewery, you're giving tasting notes. You're saying this is what you're going to expect from this beer.
Correct.
Here's some of the flavors you're going to get into it, and this is what it is: IPA, Pilsner, lager, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
She had
So,
none of it.
Question 4.
Yeah.
You already answered it.
Uh-oh.
What's the most embarrassing, bartender snafu of beer style?
Okay, I got one for you. As a 20-year vet, New Belgium's the weed beer. I forget what it was called. What was that called?
Emperor.
Yes, Hemperor. So
Yeah.
I'm working at a restaurant in a local town called Farmingdale, and we had it on tap. And if you guys know, once you pour one beer, the whole bar smells like weed.
Bong hit.
Yeah, it's exactly. It smells like a bong hit. And someone, does that have weed in it? And I said, I don't think. Like I felt bad because I didn't get the breakdown. I didn't look it up myself. It was later in my career where I really stopped caring as much, I guess, about what I was doing, which is not good. You know, you should continue to care. But I got out very shortly afterwards because I was getting tired of being inside of a bar atmosphere in my older ages. And I said, no, I don't think it has that in it. I think it's more of like an extract. And I was just guessing. And then one of the other customers at the bar actually was looking it up as I said it and completely like took my thunder, turned around and educated that person. I just felt stupid. I felt small. And I'm like, I know better than this. I am better than this. And I just didn't have an opportunity to do that. And I agree with you. I feel bad for that woman that she was misinformed. But honestly, in my opinion, it's up to the bartender or beer tender, or whatever you want to call them, to go in and do that research, take that taste, figure out what those profiles are, and help the customer with that experience.
The worst part, it was a craft bar. It was a bar.
It was an actual bar.
It was a bar that actually was pushing that they had craft beer. But
no, and mine was too. I mean, it was the meatball place, which highlighted the fact that we had 20-something taps. And
sold beer to them.
I know, I drank your beer right there for sure.
I never got to Vince.
No, I'm sorry.
Vince,
Yeah, because I don't know how much Zoom time we have.
Right.
It hasn't warned me yet, but we're good. We're good.
I'll be quick. The worst one I heard during the pandemic was I heard a bartender tell a customer that a Belgian triple was a blend of 3 beers.
No!
Jumped out of my chair.
Man.
It is.
No.
Yeah, that sounds so accurate. Yeah.
Spot on.
On point.
On point, 100%.
Hold on, I got the opinion of Tom, our producer, really quick. Tom, have you ever been in a bar where someone has misled you? Because he's the average, craft beer drinker, relatively new into the industry. Has anyone misled you on something? Have you ever been told that this is something, and then you go, "This is not at all what I was told"?
Not necessarily that, but when you go to a bar that doesn't really serve the craft beer need, and they're like, "Oh, well, we have like Stella," and I'm like, well, that's not what I was looking for, so it's really just disappointment. But I can't recall a time a bartender truly didn't know what they were talking about.
They were just trying to cover up for their
If they didn't know what they were talking about, they're
Yeah.
not going to pretend to know, because I think people will call out your bullshit easily around here.
That's true. So Brent, how about, besides that, anybody else have a story about someone has steered you wrong? Vincent, Emily? I like that. That's a good question, actually. Has anyone ever steered you wrong in the craft beer industry?
No. Yeah.
I think it happens all the time when you
does.
hear bartenders talking about beers that they're serving to customers and or to you. And to your point, I'll call you out if you get the information incorrect. And also, I think there's definitely going to be those moments where someone makes something up and that it just says, I have no idea what you just asked me about, or let me go find that out and come back to you. So
I'd rather them do that, though. I'd rather them go find out, look it up or something, and then come back to you. I'd rather that than just try to, like Tom said, bullshit their way through the whole thing. It's not something I'd...
more often than not, it's just I have no idea what you're talking about. Conversation over. So that, I'd say, is the norm, and the bullshitting is a tiny slice of that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a bartender and you feel a little embarrassed by the question, you're not prepared for it, you're going to try to talk your way out of it in some way or other. I mean, because that's just what you do, but you shouldn't, though. It's a natural reaction to it.
In my place, when we put something new on...
Let's wait.
A little different.
It's different because you're in a brewery, and you should know.
They have to taste it. They want to taste it because they want to know what it's like, so that they can describe it to the customer.
Correct. And I would assume that anyone that's behind the bar has tasted everything on tap.
Absolutely.
They know what it is. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's what should happen. But that should also continue throughout the restaurant industry.
I agree.
And
I
and
agree.
anything beyond that, for sure.
Vince,
No.
Hey.
Hey.
you go into a bar or restaurant. What's that one beer other than something you brew? I have to give that one to you.
Yeah, we got to
had
take that one off the
hey.
table.
Other than you brew, what is that one beer you hope to find? It could be from any time, any place, anywhere.
Oh boy. Man. Okay. I actually just had this conversation with somebody. Anything coming out of the Lost Abbeys,
We've been there.
funky
Wait, not
and
Lost Abbey.
wild programs,
Yeah.
circa like 2014 to 2017, maybe 2012 to 2017. There was like a 5-year stint where like Veritas was hitting on every single possible thing. They did the track series.
Yes. Yes.
Dude, I bought 3 of those cases. I was in a wildly different situation coming out of college where I had buku bucks. But I knew Ryan Fields, who was their old sour blender. Man,
that track series though was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I actually still have a track 9 and a bottle of track 9 and a bottle of track
Do you?
7. Yeah.
Where are you keeping that?
no, track 10 was the one with the
Track
dates.
10,
I think
yes.
I still have one of those. Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
what's up. Yeah, the quad with
Wow.
the dates. The Veritas, I want to say it was like 17 was the peach apricot one. I just had a buddy who hit me up who had the last one of those that I had, and then Old Duck Duck Goose.
Oh my God, yeah.
The barn one that they had. They did like a saison, and then they did a breaded version of it. Something barn. Anyway, anything coming out of the like Brett category for Lost
Okay.
Abbey in that
Got 10
time
minutes.
frame
Yeah.
had such a pivotal impact on craft beer in and of itself. This was like pre-Crooked Stave really
Yep.
making its name for
Yep.
themselves, like old school Surrett. Oh,
Yep.
please, like you
Yeah.
can't get better than that.
I'm
Now,
sure.
now let me ask you: Can you guys get Lost Abbey down by you?
Mhm.
You do.
Yeah, or now I think it's better known as the hop concept. Is their
Oh.
big thing now?
Because we don't get any Lost Abbey in New York, but if we go to Philly, we can get it in Philadelphia.
Yeah, my brother lives in Philly, so that's where I usually get my
Yeah,
fix.
Got
that and like Pliny the Elder, Russian River stuff.
Yeah.
You could get
Surprisingly
in.
making its way kind of everywhere now, which is great.
Yeah, you could get all the the consecration, supplication, all those wonderful wild.
Where are you finding that in North Carolina?
That's fair. I haven't
Brent's
been for beer in a
like,
while.
oh, hold on,
Might
where do
not
I
be-
get that?
I might just be like a friend of a friend. Or I'm going somewhere and they have it.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's fair.
Russian
I don't-
River on
probably not at
the
bar.
shelves,
I don't
my
know.
friend.
Yeah, again, the only place we could get it is in Philadelphia. And
Yeah, I don't know if we get it in Colorado. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
can't
seen
remember.
Lost Abbey or Russian River on the shelves anywhere. I mean,
Well, I can't think
Appalachian
of
Vintner gets
shelves,
like a
but I
case
do.
of Cantillon once a year, and
Yeah, I
50
can't remember the
bucks
last
a
time that I
bottle.
went into and like hunted down a beer on a shelf. But I'll find stuff, especially throughout COVID. Draft went crazy. Like people who definitely did not have distro rights were showing up on.
oh
taps,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Wild West during that time, for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that
Wild
was
West.
awesome. But I
Because
don't
it was
do
hard
cool
for anyone to
stuff
pay
now, so I don't-
attention, right? Anyone to get out there and really just investigate. Shops were closed up, things were boarded up. It was a tough time for anyone to do any real
stuff was
regulation.
shipping through the mail. Like,
Yeah, and they didn't even care. They're like, whatever, stuff's got to get through where everything's
Yeah,
locked
also,
down.
if anyone from the ALE is listening, not true.
Allegedly.
Yes,
Allegedly.
I
A lot
meant
of
to.
alleged,
I
yeah.
meant to start it with
it was allegedly
and then
happening.
we like to call it yeast samples. That's what we
Yes.
call it as. So
Yes.
it's
Yes,
not
all
really
yeast
anything
samples.
like that. Yeah. but just-
Anytime I sent anything to GABF or World Beer Cup, it was a yeast sample going there.
Now, how do they expect people to get stuff over there if you didn't use that stuff? But whatever, we won't get into that. Listen, again, our Zoom is running out, so I want to give you guys an opportunity to promote your various businesses and areas. We'll start with Emily, ladies first. Give us the full breakdown, ideas, again, stuff that you're involved with now, and then, of course, all contact information where people can find out more.
Thank you so much for the op. You can find us at radcraftbeer.com and across social media channels at the handle Rad Craft Beer. Something that we're working on right now that I'm really excited about that Riverbend is a part of, and we'll have to get you in on next year, Dissolver Friends, is a coloring book that features the logos of 25 of our beer, malt, and whiskey partners. You can find more information about that coloring book. All of the proceeds go to the James Beard Foundation, and you can find not only an online downloadable copy, but also you can order a printed version at radcraftbeer.com/industry relief.
Very cool. By the way, Dissolver's logo, really fucking cool. Really cool. And
really
that's something I want to like color with like very fine tip pens and just get it really nice. It looks really
coloring
cool.
outside the lines.
No, but you got it. If you looked at the promo that I put out for those of me, really cool. Vincent, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about Dissolver, where people can find it, what's going on in the near future, and of course all the contact information.
Oh boy. Instagram and Facebook is probably the best way to reach out to us. We've got a smallish team of marketing people who will respond in kind pretty quickly. We produce everything from super traditional beers in terms of lagers and pub ales that we take a painstaking amount of effort to put into, to everything all the way up to like weird, stupid, heavily fruited, dry hop, smoothie, cheesecake, whatever beers.
Got to be there in the market today.
Hey, it's if you're gonna attract the right clientele, they're not coming there alone. So the people who are gonna drink a seltzer, a cider, a mixed culture beer, a cheesecake beer, a lager, they're probably all hanging out together. And if you're not gonna be able to service all of them, good luck getting the next round. They're gonna move somewhere else.
Yeah.
So our MO is just kind of do a little bit of everything. And it is kind of strange because it sounds like we just wouldn't have the quality or attention to detail there. But by doing a little bit of everything and siloing each of those things into buckets, you can pay attention to how that bucket individually represents that section of everything else. So you actually can pay quite a bit of attention to detail if you don't change too much as the next release comes out. So long-winded way of saying we pay like an excruciating amount of attention to everything that we do, but we do seemingly just fire buckshot at everything. And then my business partner does all of our graphic design, social media, and it's the weirdest possible thing.
But it's identifiable.
Babyfied dancing that I can't get out of my brain.
It is the Ally McBeal. He found a 3D rendering of the baby from Ally McBeal and then put my face on it.
You remember early in the internet how viral that became? How crazy that was? That's such an interesting thing early on in the internet that just kind of made its way. Brent, really quick before I run out of time here, give us the big thing. I mean, congratulations, of course, on the 10-year anniversary. And what are we looking at now for the future? What and then we didn't even ask you, like, what are some of those big breweries that you're partnering with or will be partnering with in the future?
Yeah, I mean we've got nice partnerships with the big guys like Sierra, New Belgium, Wicked Weed, and the distilling space is big and getting bigger for us. You can find us at Riverbend Malt on Insta and Facebook, and open for tours for brewers that are in town. And I love doing the concierge service, pointing people to where to eat and drink around town when they come visit. Asheville's a hell of a place. Tons of great places to eat and drink and hike and mountain bike and fish. And I love pointing people to all of it. So come check us out.
Guys, I mean, thank you very much for spending some time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And, anyone that wants to get in contact with you, talk malt from up here in the Northeast, definitely do some collabs. We're very interested in to see how the Beer Maker beer will turn out. We're going to be posting pictures of everything. And, Vincent, I got FedEx information.
Oh my God! Did the box show up?
No, not today. It was scheduled for tomorrow, and I was like, "Oh no!" That's why we've been drinking the beer here tonight. So here's what I'll do. I'm gonna say, the minute we get it, we're gonna have it between the three of us, Mike, Pete, and Steve, and we'll do some posts for the internet. And what my thought is we'll hold on to like one or two. And then maybe next Monday or maybe the following Monday or whenever Steve actually, gets the beer or I get the beer going in the beer maker, we'll do like a live stream on Instagram with all of it. We'll do the DSSOLVR, we'll do the Riverbend Malt beer that we're doing. We'll do something just outside of just a normal show, and that way we kind of tie it all together with you guys. And again, thanks a lot for hanging out. I really appreciate it.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Yeah, we'll
this was so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I do one very also tiny plug?
Yeah,
we do a lot of single origin Riverbend malts. So if anybody's ever interested in what a specific malt tastes like from Riverbend, follow us and then find that beer, because we do it pretty regularly. It's every 2 weeks we drop a lager. So at least twice a month we're dropping one single origin thing from Riverbend is usually how it works out.
Awesome.
That's great, man.
We will look out for that, and we'll try to get it up on our social media as soon as possible. Really appreciate you guys being in tonight. Emily, Brent, and Vincent from their various Rad Craft, Riverbend Malt, and DSSOLVR. Thanks very much, guys.
Guys, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. It was fun.
We'll
Cheers,
talk.
everyone.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Well, really appreciate them for hanging out tonight. That was a great time with them. Wow. I mean, besides the Zoom not cooperating like I thought it would, we were supposed to get a free, unlimited service. I've had it for years now since the pandemic started, and all of a sudden magically pops up.
You could have done 2 hours with each one of them individually.
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like
100%.
there's so much that's been left
100%.
unsaid.
Yeah.
Like, that was
Well,
that
we'll
was great.
explore that in season 7. we got plenty of years ahead of us. I realized that I could probably do this for a little longer, much to Pete's chagrin and Steve looking at me like, how long do I gotta fucking do this?
No.
You signed a contract, sir.
No, since
He did?
I was,
No, he didn't sign anything.
I was on like, hey, wow, it's gonna be ending soon. So
Nope.
now what I'm doing?
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna be hanging out, and
You're gonna be brewing with other people.
I'm gonna be, which I'll be doing tomorrow.
Well, by the way, did this give you any
I fucking wish.
inspiration?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I wish that I knew about Riverbend when we were open.
Really?
Yes.
I would have
Yeah.
definitely gotten
Some special
I
malts,
got
some custom
malt
malt or
from
something?
them. Just again tasting the malts that I had gotten.
Which, by the way, what'd you get? We didn't even say. I mean, you said Sunrise Wheat, but what else? What were the other malts?
It was Sunrise Wheat. There was a Munich malt. They had a. I'm trying to think what else. I think I got 3 malts from them.
Okay.
Total.
And we're using all 3 in that
Yep,
brew.
yep.
Yeah. And so talk us through this, because people that, especially Sheila, like our beer maker and really are interested in this, how is this, and you've done the research, how does this process go? You had to put into like some sort of a...
They actually have their own formula maker.
Right.
And it's a template.
And it gives you like the percentages of
So-
everything that you wanted,
so
depending on what you're brewing.
I knew the percentages of what the beer is. So now I'm taking it from a 14 barrel batch.
Right.
Dropping it
Down
down,
to
to
a
1
1
gallon. So I punched in.
So stupid.
I put in the
But it works.
Yeah,
It's gonna
I put in the malts, and I put the percentages of each malt. So it broke it down into so many, 600, grams of this and 400 grams of that.
And it was pretty easy, right? There's like a calculator involved and everything?
It's, if you've never worked with it,
Yeah.
it might take you, maybe a half hour to figure. It's
In layman's terms, we're scaling it down to a 1 gallon batch. And
for anybody that's brewed,
yeah.
it's just like what you've used before software wise. And there's so many different like beer. There's Brew Smiths and all these different websites. It's just like it, and it's what it does, and then it calculates the water that you need, because you can only put so much grain and so much water in this beer maker.
Right, and we were using what, 700 milliliters, 600 milliliters?
No, water wise, it's like
What do we- 'cause I-
600, 6,000
6,000
milliliters.
milliliters, yeah.
Actually, for this beer, I want to say it's 6,300 milliliters of water, and the amount of of grain is
the ratio to whatever.
It's like a pound and a half.
Yeah.
It's
a
not
minimal amount, but
So
they were able to supply it, which was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that grain, I actually found a website for home brews that had Riverbend Malt. So, and anybody listening, if you go on, you punch in Riverbend Malt, their website is extremely proactive for a professional and a home brewer.
Really?
Especially more for a professional.
Yeah.
You can look at all the different malts that they have. They give you all the information that you would want, whether it be analytics, when they have it, when they don't have it, how much they have of it. And we really didn't get into it a whole lot. Again, like Tom said,
we could have done 2 hours with each of them. Yeah, for
easily. Sure. They will customize a malt for your,
which is so
brewery.
interesting. It's so interesting how they have to go through that process just to get you what you were looking for.
When you go onto their website, it literally breaks it down into steps.
Really?
And they will contact you. They will ask you, what are you looking for? And you give it to them, and they will make a certain amount of it, and they will send you a sample of it. You'll taste that sample, not beer-wise, but you'll taste it. Right. They will brew a small amount of it in their little 5-barrel system, and whether it be just using one grain, like a mash type of thing,
right?
A single mash, and you can taste it and see how that came out, along with the analytics. And then if you want it, they will produce it for you.
Now, quick test time. Tom, what did you learn today?
I learned that apparently the
trust Zoom.
No,
well, don't trust Zoom. We can't say that.
The fact that they only got started 10 years ago and there was such little known about the process back then.
Well, at least to them, but yes.
Right, but like he had no resources to go.
That's true.
And
There's
figure
no
things
establishment here.
So I found that pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And I was going to make the comment where, like breweries, you want to open a brewery.
Yeah.
There's a shit ton of information. Whether you had any brewing knowledge or whatever.
Right.
You could open a brewery. I don't know how good it's going to be.
Right.
But you can open a brewery, and there's just breweries everywhere.
Right.
And you could go in and maybe get a job or, become friends with the brewer or assistant.
You could learn. There's an easy learning curve.
Yeah, Malt House there's no.
Unless you go down to Riverbend or somewhere upstate New York where there's some Hudson Valley Malt or something.
I truly liked when they, again, they said that it's a craft malt house.
Yeah.
Like they started out like, let's see how this fucking goes.
Yeah.
Let's try to make something.
And what I meant to ask him in that second session was, the farm, the idea of what they're doing is locally sourcing their ingredients. I know he mentioned that, but like the amount of farm space you need, I know they have their own farm space, but to satisfy Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Wicked Weed, you have to have so many growers in the area, on board to get that malt to you.
I would like to know what the acreage.
Just the sheer acreage.
No, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Tennessee, anything the bordering, states. How much grain do they? How much
you have?
How much grain do they produce?
Yeah, it's got to be enormous.
And on top of that is that they all might be growing the same barley, but depending upon location, it changes its flavor profile. It's like growing grapes. For wineries, some of the big wineries in Virginia, they have areas all around the state,
right,
where
it's different.
It gets different weather.
Yeah. California,
so the weather,
it's literally miles,
and
like
south,
north and south. 5 miles away.
It's different from 2 miles.
You can only have, red wine grapes. Where right on the bay, like San Francisco, it's all Chardonnays and right. It's pretty crazy.
By the way, the Mets are winning 7-2. That's a big win tonight if they need to get that. Really quick, how are the Yankees doing?
They're off tonight.
Oh, that's right. They're off tonight.
Judge is on the precipice of Babe Ruth's 60. I got my tickets for Thursday night's game, which is when I'm projecting he breaks the record.
And that's against the Sox?
Well, he's not breaking. He's breaking a Yankee record.
The American League record.
The American League record, which is
or the
Maris.
non-steroid record.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Which
no
is-
one's really saying anything. Well,
breaking-
let's save that
surpassing
for
61.
Yeah.
for a New York Sports Mafia night. We'll try to get B-mail back
No,
in.
but I'm hoping I get a lotto ticket. I got my seats out in right field, so I'm
can you
bringing
imagine?
bringing a shank.
Can you imagine
in
if
case I have
Tom
to fend
catches-
off.
I'm bringing a shank.
Bring a fishing net, like a crabbing net.
Yeah.
He's thinking I'm stabbing the guy who had the ball in his hand.
Bring that
Let's get
lacrosse stick.
shanks made out of plastic forks from
He
the
doesn't
vending
want to
machine.
go beyond. Like, I don't want to reach further than this. I'd rather stab the guy and get the ball from him.
Stab. I'm feeling
Punch
sad.
some little kid in the head.
It's
and
a life-changing thing, man.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to be the guy who, and again, I'm not going to hijack the show, make it a sports show.
No,
but
no.
The guy who caught Jeter's 3,000th hit.
Can you imagine that?
Gave it to him with no asking of anything, and the Yankees just gave him season tickets, memorabilia, the whole nine. Well, I would go to Judge and say, "Listen, I don't want to be poor anymore."
You saw what
Don't be poor anymore.
you saw what Pujols.
He's on the precipice of 700.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
He one of the last home runs he hit.
He told the kid to keep it, right?
Keep it.
Yeah.
Because the kid wanted the ball more
Can
than
you
anything
imagine
else.
that? Like,
He's like,
now
you're
you're
right.
going to grow up
It means
always
more to
holding
you
on.
than to me. I'm like,
Yeah, because he's
fucking
going
awesome.
to.
Yeah, it's one of 698.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of many. Really quick, Charlie, I want to talk about this pumpkin because this is not typically the pumpkin that I would drink. This is a pumpkin saison.
It's a pumpkin.
It's
Well, you got Steve to drink it, so it's got to be half decent.
He's drinking it, but he's
Well,
muscling through it. But
The only reason why I drink it
I'm going to
is-
drink the shit out of this because this is a pumpkin saison.
I'm sitting here.
I'm just gonna.
I'm right
And
here.
he's been my mentor all these years.
No, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I remember another brewery that did a pumpkin saison, and then 1940s did a pumpkin saison right after them.
Yeah, it was better. This
Did
one's
it
better.
rhyme with Mirage?
Yeah, maybe.
Did you do a
But they
pumpkin?
were two different.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know what he used in his pumpkin.
Yeah.
We used something
All
different.
right. So tell me about it. I'd love to hear about this
He
because
puts toenails in
he has the
for the horror
when he was
of
sitting
Halloween.
when he was sitting in the camps of the Civil War, he just collected toenails in tea bags and he steeps it in Civil War. That's what this is. This isn't really the Headless Horseman.
No.
This is just an old school Civil War reenactment person. That's
Yes.
seriously, tell us a little bit about this process. This is a pumpkin
Yeah, we
saison,
just
which not
fucking-
every brewery does a pumpkin saison.
Nobody does it, and that's why I like that he's doing it.
Agree.
Well, this is something we, as you can tell by the name, effing pumpkin. It tells you basically we don't
Care.
like
Give a fuck.
We-
I
right.
gotcha. I'm with you.
We're not real pumpkin fans, and
But you are a saison fan,
well,
and you wanted something with that
it goes
well,
back.
bitterness to it.
You have to today.
That
You
funk.
have you have to have a pumpkin in your tasting room.
You do.
Yes,
You have to.
you
Let's
have
just say that
And
because
we
you
did
know you
not
do.
want to brew the traditional pumpkin the way everything is.
Mm-hmm.
So we opted to do it with a Belgian yeast strain,
Okay.
and it came out. Everybody loved it. So it's been a constant. All I hear, we hear. When's the pumpkin coming? When's the pumpkin? And we're trying, and now that we're distributing,
It's mid-August. When's your pumpkin coming?
July 15th. They want the pumpkin
God.
beer in the distributors so that he can send it to all the other. I go like, oh, okay. Anyway, it's basically because we brewed it with saison yeast, and how we ended up with that is because we brewed a beer, a saison, called Michelle Jean.
Yes, I know of it. Yep.
Okay, there's a reason why it was named that. After a fight with a certain local brewery, and then they found out who I was, they apologized.
Billie Jean.
But we changed the name from what it was to Michelle Jean in honor of my niece who was on Flight 800. So the yeast from that, we said, okay, what are we going to do? Well, we need to make a pumpkin. Let's make a pumpkin saison. And that was it. Boom.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it every year ever since.
It's a different taste. It's different than your sweet pumpkins, your pumpkin ales. This
Because-
has a little bit of that funk, and I like that as part of the pumpkin backbone.
You know what I like about it?
Yeah.
That
I have the end of it.
Well,
but you
I
got
love that
the
copper
front
color.
end. Yeah, it looks very, very good. My first pour was that, but at the end here, you could tell, there's enough spices, that vanilla, all those other
all the spices,
adjuncts that you're going into that.
Well, it's basically the pumpkin puree, the yeast, and a little bit of pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't overdo it because we don't want. First of all, we don't rim glasses in the tasting room.
Good
you
for
want
you.
a pumpkin, you get a straight up pumpkin.
Yeah.
It doesn't need it.
No,
we don't want the sugar and everything else to spoil it.
To take away from the saison funk. That's
right.
so good.
Right. So,
we love a good saison.
You don't need people making out with your glasses either.
Right. Yeah. Licking the rims.
Oh, and the cleaning of that.
Now, people don't understand. You guys use glassware.
We use glassware.
So to clean that,
you have to pre-clean that with a scrubby before you go into the dishwasher.
You don't have to tell me. I've done plenty of glasses here where if they didn't follow my recipe, which is not honey, not caramel, it's just water.
Water.
Warm. And then warm water, or actually cold water, and then you can actually pull it right out of the ice, dip it right into the sugar, and it almost hardens.
Oh, okay.
And it's like rock candy around, but very easy. It just peels right off, and it'll come right off in the dishwasher. The honey does not come right off in the dishwasher.
Honey will not
it's
come off.
Terrible. And it goes along the glass, and then you sticky hands. Yuck. Dude,
and you have to
how many people have you been? Maybe you don't like pumpkin, right? So maybe you haven't been to a restaurant or a bar that serves it.
I've never asked
dripping down the sides. It's so bad. I can't stand it.
Or plastic cup.
Right. Oh.
Huda.
Huda wada.
I gotta say, I'm glad you brought the change in Jamaica, because the last time I went to go order it at the Villager, I think it tapped as I was ordering it. I was like, I'll take the number. Oh, what the fuck? He's taking it down.
Damn it.
So I'm glad you brought that.
It is very good. It's one of my favorite styles, one of my favorite beers. And, keep making stuff like that, because that's what separates 1940s from some of the breweries on Long Island.
The pretzel beer you had at the beginning of the summer was phenomenal, too.
Yes.
Get in the Hole, the freaking Adam Sandler.
That's great can art.
Yeah.
I told my friend Roger, who came to your establishment yesterday, and I told him to tell you to come through. He texted me. He's like, I'm at 1940s. I'm like, good. So he's not a craft drinker. He's a Miller Lite guy.
He drinks. He was drinking lagers.
Lagers, right? So I said to him, he goes, "What's your favorite beers?" I said, "In Bloom, Change of Jamaica, and then whatever Column Shifter." There's a couple of that just staples that you guys have.
Yeah, it's a problem. Column Shifter is kegged, waiting to go on tap. All the tap lines are full. And behind that, we have two other beers.
Anything holiday related?
Oh, yes. But before we get to holiday related, this is a beer coming out that the hops were only available the first time that we knew of in the U.S. We had to wait almost 2 years for this.
Really?
Yeah, we placed a contract order for this.
At what point do you take something off the line to get that on?
No, we're patient. We wait.
Okay, all right. It can stay. It can wait. It's okay to rest.
Well, it's going to be canned.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. So be on the lookout for Nectaron of the Gods.
Oh,
jeez.
Yes.
IPA?
Yes. New Zealand Nectaron.
Single, double,
hops.
Double dry hop? What do we
Double
have?
dry hop.
All of the hops.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yes. If you look up what Nectaron hops are.
Yeah.
Unless, he might know. He's been
around.
Yeah, he's been around.
He's just like,
the other beer.
Been around.
The other beer is a winter ale with spices.
Ooh, I love a winter.
Well, we've been waiting a long time to do one like this. Mm-hmm. So, the argument is it a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie? Well, all I can tell you...
You talk about Die Hard?
Yeah.
You talk about Die Hard?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the argument. Is it Die Hard? Is it a Christmas movie?
Welcome to Hans Gruber.
I like it.
And
is it an ale?
Hans is all over the. It's a winter ale.
Okay, there you go.
Hans is all over it, and so is the police car, the helicopter, and the
with Carl, not Carl Banks. What's the name of the guy from with Urkel? He was in it, but I can't think of the father's name.
Well,
Carl. His name is Carl, but I couldn't think of his last name.
We got Hans covered.
Okay,
let's put it this way.
There you go.
And that label,
Hans Gruber.
that beer is, it has the label is being done. The beer is going to be brewed.
What do you have coming up for this next fall season, winter season? What are the big events that are happening at the brewery? I saw you had a cigar night.
We had cigar night, our 6th anniversary.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Coming up in probably November, December. We haven't set the date yet for our mug club party, which we have about 130
it's a lot.
plus
it's a
mug
lot
club
of freaking
members.
mugs.
Yeah. I mean, we were like, normally the order is 144. I think we're 6 short of sellout.
Jesus.
And we have that, and we will definitely be defending
Cask
the
Fest.
Cask Festival
Oh,
trophy.
shit.
That
We
has
will be
been
live at the Blue Point Cask.
That has been in my tasting room.
Shit,
for
you know what?
a
I
year.
gotta buy that vendor fee. Remind me again.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do it
Yeah,
yet.
you better do
We got plenty of time. We got
All right,
time.
all right.
It's like 2 months away.
So-
I know.
A month
So-
and a half.
Yeah, it's October sometime.
This year,
Yeah.
I want you to be a gentleman this year.
Well, he wasn't a gentleman last year?
No, he was
What?
not.
No.
He was upset because
I could care less.
I
don't
said
have,
hello.
I don't have a brewery.
I said hello to Steve. I said hello to you.
Yes.
I said hello to Pete.
We were hanging out. We were having a good time.
Be a gentleman.
Yeah.
Don't be brash.
No.
He wasn't Brent.
Sore winner.
He still won.
I understand
I'm
that.
not, I
okay.
wasn't a sore winner.
But he was very, very.
It's not just him. He's not
wait
the
a
only
minute,
one
wait a
on
minute, wait a
social
minute.
media.
If you're talking about the guy, and I will say
reprimand him.
that won the IndieCast Fest.
Okay.
And challenged everybody on social media to say he was going to take it down.
Bring it. Okay.
So I was just playing with Paul. I was really.
I was just toying with the boy.
I was just throwing. I didn't expect it to happen. I figured,
You laid the gauntlet down. That's what it is.
I mean, I saw this posted in my face.
By the way,
every few days that he was going to take it, and then he's going to take it again at the IndieCast Festival.
By the way,
So I threw down a challenge.
But this is good challenge,
and
though.
wait a minute.
This
Wait a minute.
forces you both to really
But then I
turn
said,
it up.
right, and then I said to him, if it's not me, it'll be somebody else, because there's a lot of great breweries who bring some great stuff to this event.
How do you win this award?
You're the first cast kicked of the day.
Right.
Okay. When people walk in, where do you sit? Where is your brewery?
That's all up to the. That's all up to Blue Point.
Okay, now this is what I'm going to say.
Do you get to choose?
When the line,
that's what I'm saying.
maybe
he's a number brewery,
right? So
he's the very first.
Oh, I see.
Hold on.
But
Hold
that
on.
doesn't matter.
Wait,
It still matters
wait,
when the kid
wait,
kicks.
Wait. You were busy outside with the Wort. When they brought the people in, they marched them all the way down the line
And into the corral.
Down there.
Yes.
So people
Now,
had to come past all the breweries on that one side to come up to my
And
brewery.
I'm just being the devil's advocate here because I've heard many things. The other one is when you're pouring the beer into the cup, you're actually supposed to close the spigot. When you give it to the people,
Oh, come on.
you don't keep letting
The
it
fraction
pour.
of an ounce that drips out.
Look at him. He's just like, you got to be shitting me here with this. With this quarter of an ounce.
Actual good news.
The thrill in Manila over here.
I just want.
I know you're busting balls.
Did you guys see?
He's breaking chops because,
Did you see who's playing this year's Cask
Yes,
Fest?
it's the Warped Tour band, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
It's going to be a good time. We will
Yes.
be live at Blue Point Cask Festival Festival this year. We're going to be broadcasting live from the festival. As I understand it, as far as I heard with my ears on the ground, Barrage is not having a second cask this year.
No, they're not.
Not this time. So that opens up the field to, like Charlie said, any of the breweries who can produce a really great beer. And listen, he's right. There was so much good beer there.
Yes.
We walked around.
It was just way too much good beer.
It's just so much good beer.
It was cold when you got there. We were warmed up by the end of the day.
It was great. Yeah. It was a great time.
And the thing was, if I had 10 beers, well, that was a lot.
It was.
But you went to one and you had it, you're like, oh, fuck, that's really good. Let me get some more of that. Let me get some more of that.
Yeah.
And then you're talking to somebody and you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
By the time we got around, a lot of it was kicked.
You're correct.
Steve, you were pouring. What are you talking about walking around?
No, his son
I poured right at the end.
He did.
Very end.
He was doing a few here and there. We got a couple good shots of that, and that's about it. But we will be live at Blue Point Cast Festival this year, so check us out there. We're going to be at Garvey's Point coming up. We're going to have.
I just went there.
At the restaurant?
Yeah.
How was it?
It's ginormous.
Yeah.
And
we're going to do a live show there.
Great. Yeah.
We are going to be. We have Kid Squid coming in. We have a couple of great new breweries coming up, but we're going to kind of round off this year. We wanted to be live. We want to do a lot of live shows towards the end of this year, so we're going to do that. Charlie, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of plug 1940s, Effin' Pumpkin. Where can people find it? Change It Jamaica, all that other, happy dippies.
Well,
and the newbies coming out.
Yeah.
Everything will be in our tasting room as it is released. It'll be also on tap and in cans. You will find it in most all the distributors. If you're looking for Effin' Pumpkin, Change It Jamaica in bloom, just tap it in, et cetera, et cetera. Check out the end cap display at Total Wine. And we're also available in your local areas, like in Bellport at Bellport Cold Beer and Soda.
Dave's Cold Beer and Soda. You gotta have Dave's Cold Beer and Soda. Really quick, any major events coming up besides you're going to be at the Cast Festival? Anything else that you're planning on for the events?
No.
Okay.
We're just,
that's the big one. I mean, that's the fall.
Big one. That's the one in the fall.
Yeah. Defending the title.
Yeah. Well, we have. We have to.
Yes.
We cannot not walk away. And
I'm winning it this year.
You're not even in it this year.
You're not in it. But it's an open competition,
yeah.
And whoever wins it, let me tell you, it's an experience.
So check it out. Buy your tickets. Go to Blue Point Brewing and get your tickets now because it is the premier event on Long Island. Blue Point's Cast Festival coming up. I forget the dates, but it's in October.
It's November 5th.
First weekend in November. You're right.
First weekend in November.
Wow.
Can't miss it.
It's going to be awesome.
We're
excited.
Like I said, we also have a lot of new breweries that are probably going to be in there. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what they show up with.
And see what they show up with. Look, that's the challenge.
It's anybody's game.
Right. It's anybody's game. So every year, whoever does it has got to step up the game for the next year.
That's it.
And that's the challenge.
Tom, quick thoughts before we get out of here. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to check out?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me once again. I mean, it's a good time.
Thanks for hanging out and drinking with us, Thomas.
Recently got approached by the boys in Off Guard. Going to be working on a video with them
cool.
this fall.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Little lyric video, some, October vibes. So we're going to hit a pumpkin patch or things like that. So
nice.
Yeah. Beyond that, we hit on everything. I mean, getting to finally taste the Change It Jamaica, like I was telling Charlie.
Yeah.
It kicked right at the local when I was trying to order it. So I'm glad I was able to grab it. And just looking forward to those fall and winter beers coming out and gonna make my way all around.
I keep seeing everybody's coming out with fest beers, and
I'm
so happy.
I'm interested in see what people can make here.
Who was it? Somebody just recently had an alt beer. I can't remember who it was.
Well, I mean, we love the alt beer from Long Beach. I mean, that's a delicious one. Really quick, we really want to thank our friends down in North Carolina for checking in with us today. Brent from Riverbend, Emily from Rad Craft, and of course Vincent from DSSOLVR. We'll be posting some information, and more than likely, I'm off Monday and Tuesday of next week. If you want to get together with maybe Pete, and we'll go to Hopscotch and just taste everything. If I can get that beer together, in the next week or two, then we can do something like that. Maybe by Tuesday. It's 8th day. Tomorrow
I'm on vacation that week.
Oh, you son of a bitch! All right, we'll do something.
No,
maybe 2 weeks.
I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, you're off.
I'm off.
All right, so at the very least, we'll maybe do something live from.
And if
from
anybody's around on the 24th, if you want to join me at Five Boroughs Brewing Company, it's their 5th anniversary.
That's crazy. 5 Boroughs and 5.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's
and I will be there with a bunch of friends, and
you say bells around your neck.
We're
but
gonna
really
be, and I'm gonna have a bunch of big tiny juicies and tiny juicies.
How many tiny juices can you do?
Oh, I could drink a 12-pack
easily, right?
Easily. But now those big tiny juicies.
Yeah,
those guys.
Train beers. Beers. Parting thoughts before we get out of here.
Parting thoughts. I haven't had one of those in a while.
You've been out for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Thank God for Pete being around.
You know what? Look out for some new barrage beers coming. Collaborations coming in the next month.
I know with Whomst.
In the next month.
There you go.
Anything about
3 of them coming. 3 of them.
3. Wow, you're a busy man.
3 of them.
Don't forget to have your pets spayed and neutered. This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. We were live on Facebook and YouTube every other Monday night. Check us in our podcast form on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, the Hopped Up Network, Amazon, and iHeart.
You got to get on Fountain.
Yeah, we'll get there. This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com, and we out.
Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me? Please hang up and try again.
This has been The Wort on Govs Radio. I hope you're drunk enough.